The Knights of the Zodiac shine and marvel. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 251 Galaxy explodes again. Star-Lord and the others were very lucky. It should be said that the protagonists generally have a high luck value. After they jumped off the exploding main ship, they were caught by Rocket Raccoon, who rushed over in a small spaceship. The process was full of dangers, handsome and festive. Seeing this, Zodiac couldn't help but sigh. Those friends who complained that I couldn't counter the plot as soon as I went out were too hypocritical. If what I did was a forced coincidence, what was this? Forced luck. Ignoring Star-Lord and the others who were taken away by Rocket, Zodiac's eyes turned to the purple light in the main ship. Although the main ship was about to crash, Ronan in the bridge still stood steadily in a horse stance, fully explaining the importance of a stable lower body to a man, not to mention a fierce horse. He could control even the bumpy spaceflight bed. The main ship had completely lost power at this time and was sliding down to the city below by inertia. If there was no accident, the landing point would still be the same as in the movie. After destroying a large area of buildings, it would turn a few kilometers into ruins. Looking back at the crowd at the landing point who had just realized the danger and had not yet dispersed, Zodiac sighed helplessly. Perhaps for the Nova military, sacrificing the military aircraft formation just now, sacrificing the people and buildings in the landing area, in exchange for Ronan's destruction is worth it. They can say that they have no ability to stop the main ship, so they can only watch it all happen, and then enjoy the glory of victory in the war with peace of mind. But Zodiac doesn't think so. It is fate and honor for soldiers to die on the battlefield, but civilians are innocent. The point is that he just has the ability to stop it. So facing the giant main ship, Zodiac raised his hands high in midair. The opening move of the Gemini Saint CE's ultimate move Galaxy Starburst, using a physical move like Galaxy Starburst to hit J ships and the like is really perfect. Energy quickly gathered in his hands, and even the phantom of the planet appeared around Zodiac. As his hands swung down, the phantom of the planet instantly enveloped the main ship, and then a devastating energy exploded in the sky. At this time, the people of the whole city felt the horror of the energy in the sky. The light was refracted by the vibration of the air. A shockwave visible to the naked eye spread rapidly around the main ship with the main ship as the center. Then, a huge roar came from the sky, which was even louder than the loudest thunder in summer. In the roar, people were surprised to find that the huge main ship that almost covered half of the sky had disappeared. There was fine dust falling from the sky, like a black rain. Go! An angry and unwilling shout sounded in the air. Everyone realized that not everything turned into dust. There was actually a person who survived the huge explosion. Ronan roared and slid down from the sky. His clothes were tattered, but the hammer in his hand still emitted a dazzling light. Zodiac also slowly fell to the ground. The power of the Galaxy Starburst just now was not less than the one used in the New York wormhole, but the burden on his body was not as heavy as that time. It is true that he has grown a little during this period of time, but it is still not enough to make up for the gap between the Silver Saint and the Gold Saint. Logically, he should be exhausted and even bleeding like last time, but now he is just a little out of breath, and his body is not seriously injured. Looking down at the Silver Saint cloth that has not changed at all, Zodiac is overjoyed. Before, he was still upset that the ether particles got into the Saint cloth, making him unable to take it out or use it. Now he accidentally discovered that it was not that he could not mobilize the power of the ether particles, but that his previous thinking was wrong. The ether particles themselves did not become a jet-type external attack under Zodiac's stimulation like in the movie, but when Zodiac used the Saint skills, especially the Gold Saint skills that exceeded the current realm, the reality gem instantly amplified his small universe, allowing his body and realm to briefly reach the seventh sense realm of the Gold Saint. Just like when he held the Mind Scepter on the Stark Tower in New York, he felt great. As expected, it is an infinity stone. One reality stone can allow me to use skills beyond my level without any burden. What will happen if I collect all 6 infinity stones? The eighth sense, or the ninth sense? I don't know if there is a ninth sense. After all, the G-comic, whether it is the exquisite painting style or the bizarre plot, is far from the original. In the original world, there is no such term as the ninth sense. Lazai was thinking wildly in his mind while falling. Perhaps the eighth sense is the limit of the human microcosm. Going beyond that is similar to condensing the godhood, and the achievements and consciousness are completely raised to a realm different from humans. And that higher level realm is like a higher dimensional world for saints with 8 senses or below, so saints cannot look directly at or attack gods, unless the gods themselves descend to a lower dimension, or the saints are temporarily raised to a higher dimension by the gods, so that the two can fight on the same level. Then the question is, if the infinity stones of the early universe are combined with the power of the small universe that was born with the Big Bang, can they break through the suppression of this dimension? If I really took the 6 infinity stones to the Saint Seiya world, would I be able to fight against the god of death, the god of sleep, and even Hades, the Sea King? Lazia felt that her speculation was probably right. It was even possible that this was the reason why she was brought to this world, and was given a holy suitcase, and then there were 12 former gold saints to preach and answer questions and escort her. It is very likely that these predecessors are playing a big game, and the purpose may be to completely eliminate Hades, so that the tragic holy war does not have to be started every 200 years, and the world will completely become a paradise. If you think about it in a bigger way, it may not only be Hades, but also the entire Olympus. Damn. Lazai was scared by her bold idea. Damn, are the predecessors too careless? Or am I too careless? Can those guys be defeated? Besides, isn't it the mission of the great demon king Seiya to fight against the heavens, the earth and the gods? Why are you looking for me? I just want to quietly do good deeds and be loved and admired by the people. The landing process did not take long, but Lazia's mind quickly flashed countless thoughts, from the joy of accidentally using the infinite gems at the beginning to the uneasiness of realizing that he might have a greater mission in the future. This process is not manly at all, and it is not like a time traveler at all. Damn, who has the time traveler been afraid of? Isn't it just Olympus? I don't even take Odin seriously, so why should I be afraid of you guys? Chapter 252, Battle against Ronin. The moment he landed, Lazia completed his psychological reconstruction and was full of confidence in his future again. Anyway, from the moment he crossed over, his life was destined to be extraordinary. The superheroes he admired before all became his younger brothers. What else could be impossible? They were just gods. So what was the big deal? One word: do it. On the lawn of a city park, Lazia and Ronin stood not far away from each other. From Ronin's really blazing eyes, Lazia could feel that he had completely forgotten the hatred between him and the Novakor of Xander. You bastard, I'm going to kill you. Ronin was not familiar with Lazia and had never heard of such a person before. But at this moment, this irrelevant person wiped out all his men. He didn't know why Lazia did this, and of course there was no need to know now. Asking and arguing were just to waste space and cheat on the word count. Ronin was very clear in his mind that he had to kill the bastard in front of him. Ronin, who had the Infinity Stones, could not be defeated, and anyone who dared to infringe on him would die. Without further ado, Ronin raised his hammer. In a purple lightning and fire special effect, the hammer fell heavily, and a huge destructive energy wave rushed towards Lazia along the ground. Die. Facing the attack of the Infinity Stones, Lazia did not dare to be careless. Under the amplification of the ether particles, the small universe instantly reached the 7th sense, and the golden crystal wall appeared silently in front of him, and the golden light shone in the air. Boom! A violent explosion sounded in front of Lazia, and the energy wave generated by the explosion lifted all the nearby land, and a gully several tens of meters long appeared on the ground. The gully radiated in the direction of Ronin, while the side facing Lazia was very neat, which was exactly where the crystal wall was just now. Blocking Ronin's attack, the crystal wall also turned into stardust at the same time. The attack of the Infinity Stones exceeded Lazia's imagination. In the distance, a small spaceship was hovering in the air, and the members of the Guardians of the Galaxy on the ship were surprised to see everything happening below. What happened just now? He blocked Ronan's attack? Star-Lord's eyes were about to explode in shock. How could there be a man who is more handsome and powerful than me in this universe? This is totally unscientific. Yes, the Collector boasted so much. I thought Ronan was invincible. I didn't expect him to be blocked so easily. Rocket Raccoon controlled the spaceship and said with disdain. The facial expressions of a humanoid animal were richer than those of a human. It's not that the Power Stone is not powerful, but the man who blocked him is too strong. I have never seen such a strong man. Gamora shook her head and said, if this man faces Thanos, can he win? After a moment, Gamora shook her head. He might be at the level of the Black Obsidian generals. Well, Black Dwarf was injured when he went to Earth last time, and his strength has declined a bit. Others should be able to defeat him. It can only be said that Gamora thought too much. If he knew how Black Dwarf was injured when he went to Earth, he probably wouldn't think so. Rocket, get down. Let me down. A roaring voice sounded beside him. Drax's eyes were red, and he only had Ronan in his eyes. He wanted to jump down right now. I am Groot. A deep voice sounded, and the tree man Groot also joined in the fun. Rocket nodded. Groot is right. It's useless for you to go down now, big guy. You'd better stay here honestly and don't go down to make trouble. Otherwise that guy will be distracted to protect you. Star-Lord turned his head. Are you sure Groot said so much? Rocket snorted. If you don't understand, just shut up and don't question me, you poor student. Star-Lord was instantly furious. How dare you call me a poor student? Do you know that I'm the best pilot and explorer in the universe? I can memorize all kinds of the best. Haha. Rocket interrupted Star-Lord. How dare you say in front of me that you are the best? Do you know? Stop bragging. You're the one bragging. Enough. Gamora interrupted the quarrel between the two with a roar, pointing to the battle below and said, if you don't want to die, drive the spaceship away quickly. The two people below are not like you who can only talk. While Gamora was talking, a violent explosion suddenly occurred below. The golden light and the purple light collided together. The huge mushroom cloud produced by the explosion was several hundred meters high. Fortunately, the area of the park was large enough. Otherwise the destructive power would have been no less than that of the main ship falling. Lysia already regretted it a little. If she had known earlier, she would have let Star-Lord fight. A few simple dances and a rough physical skill would have dealt with Ronan easily and happily. Unlike now, Ronan is holding a war hammer, and the power gem allows him to achieve powerful abilities such as material decomposition and reorganization, energy shock waves, and the creation of control force fields. These abilities, especially the ability to decompose and reorganize matter, are not much different from the ability of the microcosm to destroy atoms, and the power gem can weaken the destructive power of the microcosm to a certain extent. This is much more difficult than when Lysia just became a Saint Seiya and fought the Hulk with Gamma power. At this time, if Ronan is rated by the level of Saint Seiya, he is almost the same as the Gold Saint Seiya. Although he does not have the gold cloth, he has the power gem. The Power Stone is more advanced than the gold cloth and is closer to the original power of the universe. This is why the entire main ship was blown into dust, but Ronan was not injured. The easiest way to quickly defeat Ronan is to disconnect him from the Power Stone. Ronan cannot directly absorb the energy of the Power Stone and needs to use the hammer as a carrier in transit, so just destroy the hammer like in the movie. But Lysia can't rely on dancing to divert Ronan's attention like Star-Lord does. If he wants to destroy the hammer, he can only fight hard. If the Commander Capricorn El Cid had come out, learned the Holy Sword, and pointed it at it and chopped it, the hammer would be scrapped directly, and the plot would end. Unfortunately, there is no if. El Cid has never appeared, and he didn't appear this time. Lysia still has to rely on his current abilities to defeat Ronan. Lysia had tried all of these moves, such as Galaxy Starburst, Stardust Spin, and Lush on 100 Dragons, but she didn't dare to use her full strength, fearing that she might accidentally blow up the entire city. If she reduced her power output, it wouldn't have much effect under the defense of the power gem, and Ronan seemed to be good at defending against this kind of range attack. Then there was only one way, to break through the surface with a point. Fortunately, I know a lot of skills, otherwise I would have really fallen here today. Lizaya stretched out her index finger, and her nails turned scarlet. Chapter 253 Aries. Scorpio's special skill, Scarlet Poison Needle, explodes with destructive power with a cumulative damage of 15 needles. Scarlet Poison Needle often gives people the first impression that it is long-winded, and the procedure is cumbersome. You must stab the enemy with 15 needles before you can kill him. Maybe people who like needles are like this. If you don't stab you to death at once, you will be tortured slowly, so that you dare to enter the palace to seduce the emperor. Sorry for the confusion. If it weren't for the mental abnormality or the strong enough psychological endurance, the Scorpio Saint CEO would have annoyed himself to death when stabbing the first dozen needles. Therefore, Claudia created the strongest needle that can achieve success in one battle. Aries. Look, Claudia, who has such a lively personality, can't stand the tediousness of stabbing 15 needles in a row. In addition to being long-winded, his skill effect is not dazzling at all. It is not like the overwhelming attack of Galaxy Starburst, Stardust Rotation, and Lush on 100 Dragons. The momentum alone can overwhelm the opponent. There is no special effect support when using the Scarlet Poison Needle. It is just a simple red light, which is as cheap as street stall goods. Learn about nail art and eyebrow shaping. From this point of view, even if Scorpio is a killer, it seems that they are not qualified. It is okay to have low-key skills, but killers pay attention to one-shot killing. 15 needles. Haha. Of course, I have said so much, not simply to belittle Scorpio. The skills of the 12 constellations of gold saints are not high or low. Haven't you seen that the fish-bottom duo in SS made Cancer and Pisces so angry that many people are embarrassed to say their constellations when they go out? But in LC, whether it is Manigot of Cancer or Abelfica of Pisces, their strength, appearance and popularity are all high. What on earth do you want to say? Oh, Scarlet Poison Needle. Scarlet Poison Needle actually has a fatal attribute that most other constellations do not have: breaking defense. No matter how powerful your skills are, or how wide your attack range is, when the opponent is wearing the Saint Cloth, Hades Cloth, or even the Divine Cloth, it is possible to block it with solid defense. However, the Scarlet Poison Needle, relying on this scarlet fingernail, can easily break through the defense of the Saint Cloth, directly attack the enemy's body, and detonate the mental toxin in it. But from this point of view, the Scarlet Poison Needle can basically be said to be unsolvable. Thank you, Senior Claudia, and thank you to other seniors. Without your generosity and selflessness, I would not have mastered so many skills, and thus become an excellent youth in the universe with all-round development of morality, intelligence, physical fitness, aesthetics, and labor, and almost no shortcomings. Looking at the scarlet nails on his hands, Lizaya silently gave a speech of thanks for the award in his heart. On the other side, Ronan was angered by Lizaya's behavior. Wasn't the attack just now sharp enough? How dare you ignore me like this, damn bastard! Ah! Ronan shouted to the sky, and a huge purple energy lit up on his hand. Judging from the scale, the destructive power would probably not be lower than the Galaxy Starburst that Lizaya had used before. The nearby spacecrafts watching the battle began to evacuate rapidly, and the civilians had already evacuated the area where the park was located under the arrangement of the military. However, despite this, the heart of the Supreme Nova could not calm down. The powerful and terrifying force made her doubt the strength of the Nova Corps for the second time. The first time was when Ronan's main ship broke through the defense formation of the military aircraft formation. Could it be that the Nova Corps can no longer shoulder the mission of guarding Xander? The powerful force did not make Ronan lose his mind. On the contrary, he remembered the purpose of his coming to Xander. His target was not the man in silver armor in front of him, but Xander and the Nova Corps. Together, destroy. Ronan raised his warhammer, and the momentum of destroying the world had gathered. As his warhammer fell, Xander and the Nova Corps would become history. Everyone here, including the guy of unknown origin, would be buried with the warriors who died in the battle on Kree. When people are in a state of rage, they will always subconsciously do something irrational, such as destroying the world. A silver-white figure quietly appeared in front of Ronan at some point, and the scarlet color of the nails on the erection was shocking. Usually in this situation, we will persuade the other party to calm down and ask your heart if this is your intention. The scarlet finger seemed slow, but in fact it was extremely strange, and it instantly touched Ronan's chest. Let your heart calm down. Destruction is a vent, not a goal. It will only make our scarred hearts more and more empty. Ronan had a powerful force, but because it was all concentrated on the warhammer, he could not use it to resist Lazia's attack. He could only watch the nails touch his chest, and then a chill that penetrated his body instantly surged to every corner of his body. That's right, it was not the boiling blood, but a chill. The Andrews used by Lazia was different from Caludia. Caludia sacrificed her blood and life, causing the person hit by Andrews to explode and die directly. Lazia didn't want to die, so he used freezing air, the extremely cold air he learned from Dieter. The moment he broke through Ronan's body, he froze his internal organs and muscles into hard ice. Although Ronan did not die immediately under the protection of the power gem, if he was given more time, he might even recover from the frozen state. However, the energy accumulated in his warhammer dissipated rapidly in the air because he lost control. The power dissipated too quickly, and even caused a local energy explosion, which directly shattered half of Ronan's body. The warhammer lost control and fell, and was caught by Lazia. Turning around, Lazia raised the warhammer in his hand high in the face of the fleet in the distance, and shouted, "We won!" With the help of the small universe, the sound spread to every corner of the city. Not only the pilots on the military aircraft, but also Nova Supreme and others in the command center could hear it clearly. "We won!" Nova Supreme finally breathed a sigh of relief, and at the same time, the entire Xander planet fell into a carnival. On the spaceship not far away, Rocket frowned and muttered, "Why do I feel like we missed something?" "We missed 2 billion. Star-Lord nodded in agreement. Someone once offered 2 billion for the cosmic sphere, but he now knows that the value of this thing is far greater than 2 billion. It's a pity that the thing has fallen into the hands of Lazia, who is more powerful than Ronan, and they can't get it back. Where should we go next? Ronan is dead, and Gamora doesn't want to go back to Thanos." For a moment, she didn't know where to go. "Put me down." Drax looked at the remaining half of Ronan's body and shouted relentlessly, "I am Groot." Chapter 254 Ronan exits. Ronan, the most frustrated boss in the history of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, finally died. Every villain will eventually have an unfortunate ending, but it is a blessing in disguise that he did not die from dancing and his reputation was ruined. Before the happy ending, there is still one person to deal with, the boss of the Predators, Yondu. Yondu is not a soft-hearted thief. Even among the Predators, his reputation is notorious. The reason why he brought the Predator fleet to Xander to help was not because he suddenly had a sense of justice that he had nowhere to put it. His purpose was very simple. The cosmic sphere, that is, the power gem. Yondu's purpose is different from Ronan's. He wants the cosmic sphere for money, not to improve his own strength. His body itself is not enough to control the power of the power gem, and as a weapon, he actually has a more suitable and more convenient weapon for himself, a whistle arrow made of special sound-sensitive metal. The whistle arrow does not appear many times in the movie, but every time it is very amazing, absolutely carry the whole scene. Both the penetration and lethality are first class. So when Lazia raised the hammer to declare victory, Yondu and his men surrounded him confidently. It's not that Yondu didn't know how powerful Lazia was, but money can make people happy, and the value of the Power Stone was enough to make Yondu take risks. Friend, Yondu's initial address was not as casual as it was to Star-Lord. After all, Lazia defeated Ronan with strength, not dancing. The thing in your hand doesn't belong to you. Yondu tried his best to make his hoarse voice sound sincere, not because he was afraid of Lazia, but to show that he was confident. "I was entrusted by my employer to find the lost cosmic sphere. I hope you can give that thing to me. I can give you half of the commission, 10 million. How about it? You don't have to do anything. You can get 10 million, and you will also gain the friendship of our Predators." Lazia glanced at the Predators around him who were staring at him with their weapons raised. and shook his head regretfully. "Blue friends, I'm afraid I can't do it." "Well, you can't do it either." As Lazai spoke, the temperature of the air around them began to drop. At the same time, the weapons in the hands of the predators suddenly began to freeze, and all the weapons were frozen in an instant. The ice layer did not end, but quickly spread to their hands, as if they were made into ice sculptures. Malekith's tragedy seemed to be repeated. "Ouch! Ah, my hand! Help!" Screams and pleas came from the mouths of the predators. They hurriedly threw away their weapons and rushed to flee. The predators are an organization that can only fight with favorable winds. When they lose their weapons and face stronger enemies, they will instantly become weaker and more afraid of death than ordinary people. After a while, only Yongtu was left standing there with his coat lifted up, and there was nothing abnormal about the whistle arrow on his waist. "It's just a little trick, not worth mentioning." Lazai stuck the warhammer on the ground, pointed at the whistle arrow on Yondu's waist and said, "Your thing is not simple. How about we compete?" Yondu's competitive spirit was aroused. "You think you can scare me like this?" The predator has never been afraid of anyone. "How to compete?" Lazai stretched out his hand, and a shield made of ice appeared in front of him. The shield was round, with circular stripes on the surface, and a standard 5-pointed star in the middle. Well, except for the color, it was almost carved out of the same mold as Captain America's shield, and even the thickness was the same. Raising the thin ice shield in his hand, Lazai smiled like a child weighing more than 100 pounds. "As long as you can break my shield, I will give you the warhammer, and I won't ask you for a penny. All the rewards are yours. How about it?" "That's what you said." Yondu's head lit up. "A shield less than 1 centimeter thick, and it was an ice shield, and you wanted to block my whistle arrow. Are you sure you weren't just beaten silly by Ronin?" As if he was afraid that Lazai would go back on his word, Yongtu bared his yellow front teeth and whistled. With the whistle arrow flew up, and the arrowhead reached Lazai's ice shield. "You'd better get out from behind that, otherwise I'm afraid I'll hurt you by mistake." Yongtu reminded politely, "Hurry up, my girlfriend is still waiting for me to go home for dinner." However, Lazai didn't appreciate it, and he started to pick his ears impatiently while talking. Seeing his behavior, Yongtu was not polite. He whistled, and the whistle arrow rushed towards the ice shield with a red light, so fast that it was difficult to catch with the naked eye, and the opposite side of the landing point was Lazai's impatient face. Yongtu swore that he didn't want to kill Lazai, but the other party took this matter too lightly and he had no choice. The sharpness of the whistle arrow could easily penetrate the shield armor of a space battleship, let alone a thin ice shield. Ice shield? Yongtu's eyes were straight, staring at the round ice shield without blinking. "Are you sure that's really ice? How can such thin ice be stronger than metal armor?" The warhammer was placed on the ground next to it. It wasn't the power stone. What was going on? Yongtu was almost out of breath from whistling. The whistle arrow spun like a gyroscope on the ice shield, trying to drill through it, but it couldn't even drill out a little ice, and the ice shield didn't show any signs of breaking. Failed. Yongtu finally realized that he had underestimated his opponent. It was really not luck that this guy could defeat Ronin, who had the power stone. His strength might have exceeded his imagination. Continuing to attack would only leave a joke. Without saying anything more, Yongtu put away the whistle arrow and turned around to leave. Now he should be thankful that the other party was not a murderous person like Ronin, otherwise he might not be able to leave. Lazai didn't make things difficult for Yongtu and let him leave. In fact, Lazai couldn't say that he hated Yongtu, but she definitely couldn't say that she liked him. There's really nothing to like about this interstellar pirate leader who only showed kindness once in his life and secretly kidnapped the child Star-Lord who was commissioned to be trafficked, and raised him to be a habitual thief and interstellar hooligan. The predators left, and they did not choose to stay because they did not get the power gem. After all, they were bandits, and the Nova military was the guardian of the cosmic order. The relationship between the two was absolutely opposite. So far, the war was completely won, and Lazai and the Guardians of the Galaxy received heroic treatment. Lazai's descent from the sky not only destroyed Ronin's main ship, which had destructive power over the city, but also directly killed the final boss, Ronin, the Nightmare of Xander, and was regarded as a savior by the Nova military and ordinary people. Star-Lord and his Guardians of the Galaxy also made great contributions. If Star-Lord had not given an early warning and fooled the Predator Corps into intercepting Ronan, the Nova Corps would not have had so much time to arrive at the battlefield calmly, and Xander would probably have suffered huge losses at the first time. The Nova Corps would not thank the plunderers, but would credit all the favors to Star-Lord and his men. Therefore, the previous wanted notices for Star-Lord and his men and their criminal records were all erased by the Nova Corps. From today on, they once again became suspects without criminal records. They could once again go out and explore the vast sea of stars. Chapter 255, The Cosmic Age. At the Nova Corps headquarters, Rocket Raccoon looked back at the building behind him every 3 steps. "Let's go, Rocket." His back made people want to commit a crime, and the front, Gamora, who had no face and no breasts, walked by. "Oh, I'm really unwilling." Rocket was full of regret, but he couldn't go back to grab it. They had seen the previous battles. With the strength shown by Lion, it was not something they could easily grab. Of course, if they really fought desperately, they would definitely not be vague. Even when facing Thanos, they would rush up without hesitation. It can only be said that they didn't reach the point where they needed to fight desperately. Although the power gem is powerful, the members of the Guardians of the Galaxy are not people who pursue personal strength excessively. Their interests are traveling, making money, robbing, revenge, dazed and playing games. Although improving their own abilities can allow them to accomplish these things better, it is strange that they have no idea of improving. The power gem, which kills whoever takes it, is not as attractive to them as money. "I am Groot." The tall tree man Groot looked down at Rocket with a childlike innocent look. Okay, you're right. There are many opportunities to make money. There's no need to keep an eye on this dangerous thing." Rocket Raccoon finally calmed down and complained as he walked. "No matter who gets this thing in the end, we won't get any money. You must not be implicated by this thing, in the end." "Okay, I didn't say anything." Over there, Star-Lord had already completed the handover with a curly-haired captain of the Nova Corps and walked towards this side with a smile. "Okay, everyone, cheer up. Our journey is about to begin. I just learned. I thought of a new line. Do you want to listen?" No one answered, including Groot, who looked out the window with a calm face. "Tell me, Captain." Seeing the extremely awkward situation, Gamora smiled and tried to smooth things over for Star-Lord. "Wait a minute, are you mistaken? I'm the captain." "Okay," Rocket retorted unsatisfiedly. "Don't interrupt." Star-Lord cleared his throat and said seriously, "To prevent the world from being destroyed, to maintain world peace." "What kind of old-fashioned line is this? Are you sure we want to use such a stupid line? It feels like an antique from centuries ago when we say it." Rocket continued to complain. "We are the Guardians of the Galaxy." "Hey, it's true when you put it that way." Star-Lord shrugged helplessly. "Forget it. Let's go. We should do some serious work." "Black or white?" Rocket began to pull the thrusters. "Whatever. I actually prefer the middle lower road, you know," Star-Lord said with regret. This playboy who used to take girls with him randomly has started a monk's life since he met Gamora. It's a miracle that he didn't get sick. By the way, Star-Lord, who has seen countless women, actually fell for Gamora's crooked neck tree. Is it because he is used to eating big fish and meat, so he wants to eat X instead? It's really hard to do it. Which path is that? You can't even tell me clearly. Are you insulting my intelligence? Rocket was angry. As a raccoon, it seemed to be a rookie. "I don't understand either," Drax interrupted. "He was simply stupid and had nothing to do with experience." "Peter, if you dare to say such dirty words again, I promise that you can't enter any path." Gamora was also angry. If time could go back 10 seconds, she would never help Star-Lord. "What do you think I said? I just want to choose a path that is neither white nor black, not too ostentatious, and make a fortune quietly." "Am I wrong?" Star-Lord thought he was wronged. "I am Groot. You are all right." The Guardians of the Galaxy are a group of sand sculptures. When they get together, they have never been able to make people feel at ease. After sending the Guardians of the Galaxy away, Lion stayed as the main force to defeat Ronan, Xander and the Nova military naturally have to show their sincerity. Lu Ban number 7 said, "My small step is a big step for friendship. As a hero who saves the world, Lazai will become a witness to the friendship between Earth and Xander." Lazai himself does not actually need the Novan core to pay anything, and he is not even going to put the Power Stone in his hands. There is only one Mind Stone on Earth, and the Reality Stone is still in his holy clothes. According to Odin, the two stones cannot be too close, and now they are already beyond the limit. If the Power Stone is taken back, maybe there will be problems before Thanos comes. Therefore, the Power Stone can be temporarily stored in Xander according to the original plot, and then it can be taken before Thanos takes action. In exchange, Xander will assist Earth with some of its technology and achievements to help Earthlings enter the real universe era. It can be foreseen that after accepting the technology of Asgard and Xander, the speed of technological progress on Earth will surely increase by countless orders of magnitude. Regarding the part of technology transfer, Lazai still does not plan to participate, but this time he did not let Tony deal with it, as the things on Asgard have been enough for him to be busy for a while. Lazai contacted Zheng Xian about the technology of Xander. Zheng Xian was very efficient. Not long after, he organized relevant scientists and escort teams to arrive on the spacecraft of Xander. With the help of light-speed spacecraft and space jump technology, space travel is no longer a dream. Zheng Xian arrived in about a month, a distance of tens of thousands of light years. When he saw Lazai, Zheng Xian was so excited that tears came down. He never thought that a foreign Chinese who he had contacted out of habit would bring so many changes to the country. First, the rise of La'ayuan allowed the government to cultivate and master a high-energy force. Although the students of La'ayuan have not yet formed a real combat force, it is foreseeable that in the near future, they will become a powerful force that no one can ignore. After that, Lazai brought tens of thousands of tons of space garbage to the country. Although the word garbage makes people feel a little uncomfortable, when it comes to space-level garbage, especially space garbage that can reversely analyze countless high-precision technologies that are countless times ahead of the Earth, they are all priceless treasures that can save tens or hundreds of years for the Earth's scientific path. Moreover, this pile of space junk actually attracted the genius scientist Tony Stark, who shared some of the technology of Stark Industries with China. No one would ignore Stark Industries just because they got a pile of space junk. They once represented the most advanced weapons on Earth to a certain extent. Although Tony did not share the relevant technology of the Iron Man suit, Lazai had already brought back the Iron Man suit technology from Ivan Vanko. The Iron Man suit technology was not shared just because Tony gave a face to the US government. In fact, the domestic demand was not very high. Originally, Zheng Xian thought that Lazai was sincere enough to do this, but he didn't expect that it would bring him a bigger surprise now. How many years will it save for Earth's technology to take away the entire set of space technology? Zheng Xian said that he, a liberal arts student, could not understand the concept at all. Brother, Zheng Xian patted Lazai's hand and was filled with emotion. He felt that there were thousands of words stuck in his throat, but he didn't know what to say. At this moment, no words seemed to be enough to express his gratitude to Lazai. If possible, he would like to give Lazai the position of director of the Xinmao Bureau. What's wrong with Brother Xian? Lazai pulled back her hand calmly. Could it be that he found a rich foreign girlfriend for him, but he couldn't satisfy her? Zheng Xian didn't know what Lazai was thinking. Otherwise, even if he was grateful and wanted to worship him, he would beat him up so that he couldn't take care of himself. Who do you think I am? Zheng Xian, the director of the Xinmao Bureau? Is my spear not good? Chapter 256 Daily Life in La'ayuan. For the students of La'ayuan, the day they entered school was a new beginning. A set of nature is calling that was thought to be no different from the previous radio gymnastics helped them open the door to a new world. The myriad things in the universe, the natural energy, these things that could only be seen in novels and film and television works in the past, have really entered their lives. The children who came to La'ayuan were not very old. They were either 7 or 8 years old and listened to novels, or they were in their teens and were fooling around with everything. So when they heard about the power of practicing natural energy, especially after the Dean Lazai showed up, Everyone's emotions soared to the point of exploding. Practice natural energy, manifest Mo-yi, become the savior of this world, and maintain the peace of the universe. This belief grew instantly as soon as it appeared, and gradually penetrated into the blood of everyone, becoming their lifelong mission. Of course, whether it is practice or study, there will be differences in qualifications. Some people learn quickly, some learn slowly, and the final achievements are also different. Just like now, the number of basic classes is still slowly expanding, and it is only a matter of time before it exceeds 20,000. The number of students in the elementary class has exceeded 150, which is more than 20 more than when Zodiac came. The best of them are ready to advance to the advanced class, which will start to condense the back pattern. In 1 year, the difference is almost 2 realms, and the gap continues to widen unconsciously. This situation is inevitable. Therefore, while the college encourages everyone to learn from each other, it will also provide students with certain psychological counseling according to the actual situation, so that the children who are progressing fast will not be too proud, and those who are progressing slowly will not worry too much. Even if those in the basic class cannot break through until graduation, it is okay. At least they have already felt the chi, and used the chi to nourish their bodies, and learned various combat techniques. After that, whether they enter the army or return to the local armed police force, they will be a force that cannot be underestimated. For a great country, a team of tens of thousands of people is easy to digest, and with the supervision procedures of the Shinmao Bureau, they will try their best to prevent these people from becoming uneasy elements. In fact, the appearance of villains is not without reason. As long as problems can be discovered in time and appropriate guidance is given at the right time, these problems can be avoided as much as possible. It is better to guide than to block. If we dare not expand the enrollment scale and strengthen the teaching intensity because of fear of chaos, what is the difference between that and the pockmarked emperor of the Qing dynasty suppressing the development of firearms, causing the level of weapons to decline and being suppressed and invaded by the great powers? Under the guidance of this kind of thinking, the atmosphere of the entire Liaoyuan is very positive, happy, healthy and progressive. Children walking on the road, regardless of their age, are laughing, and their faces are full of enthusiasm, which is the vitality of youth. It's really good to be able to bask in the sun like this. The speaker is a young man. At this time, he is lying on a platform on the sunny side of the edge of the 10,000 person square. His body is wrapped in bandages, like a mummy, and around him, there are a lot of people who are dressed almost the same as him. There are 20 to 30 mummies, with dense bandages on their bodies, looking like a group of defeated stragglers. In the square, countless children were actively participating in the training. From time to time, some children who stopped to take a break would cast their eyes on this platform. None of the children would look down on them because they looked too miserable. Everyone looked at them with respect and envy, because they were all heroes of the academy. In the recent frequent invasion of ice giants, these people were the heroes who fought the enemy in the first wave. The boy who was speaking slowly raised his arm and scratched his head gently through the bandage. The wound there was healing and it was a little itchy. "How many waves have we had today?" Another short-haired boy of about the same age asked. I don't remember, Shuang. "Which wave is it?" The scratching boy turned his head with difficulty and looked at a long-haired girl next to him. 3 waves. 3 waves came in the morning, and they were the same group of people. "These guys are too energetic." The girl frowned unconsciously when she spoke. "Hey," the short-haired boy suddenly raised his voice, "tell me, where did the dean find so many tall ice monsters? They look like monsters in computer games." "Aliens," someone next to him interrupted. "During the Battle of New York, the dean had contact with aliens. Maybe these aliens are kept by the dean to help us improve our combat experience." The one who spoke was Zhang Wen's, a die-hard fan of the dean, who could always find seemingly reasonable reasons for the dean's behavior. "So, I thought of something at that time," the scratching boy suddenly said. "Do you remember the first time we had 123 people against their 10 people? Although we won in the end, they only fought us hand-to-hand from beginning to end and did not show any magic ability." "Lin Lai is right," Shuang next to him echoed. "I remember, but as our number increased and our strength became stronger, they began to use magic. Yes, I was hit on the waist by an ice spike suddenly released from a guy's hand yesterday. If I had dodged a little slower, I might have died at that time. The short-haired boy Akane recalled. I remember it too. I thought I was dead that day, but the opponent's spear deviated from my heart and only pierced my shoulder blade. Someone else shouted, "Me too, me too." The sword that was supposed to pierce my thigh only cut my crotch. Then what? Yes, then what? What then? Damn, can you guys focus on the main point? Focus on the main point. Whether the crotch is torn or not is a big deal. That's the main point. Get lost. I'll tell you. Zhang Wen's automatically filtered out the discordant words while listening to everyone's discussion. He looked so happy that he didn't know what he was happy about. So I say to you all, Lin Lai sat up and looked at the young men present with a serious face. We were all wrong. Seeing everyone looking at him, Lin Lai struggled to stand up and said loudly, "The dean provided us with the cultivation methods and such a superior environment, and even found aliens to be our sparring partners for our growth. But we are here to be complacent and even waste our time because of a little achievement." It took the dean less than a month from the beginning of learning Senyuo Wangxian to cultivating the back pattern, and we have been enrolled for a year. I think everyone here, no one wants to come here to slack off, right? No one answered. There must be people who really want to slack off, but they would never appear here and become the best in La Yuan like them. Since no one wants to slack off, then work harder, everyone. Only when we become stronger, those ice giants will not be timid and will show their true strength, so that we can see how big the gap is between us and the fighting nations in the universe. Although we are the most outstanding students in La Yuan, we are still far away from the dean. According to our current progress, it is almost impossible to catch up with him and become his helper. Are we just going to watch the dean appear on the battlefield to defend the earth again and again, and we can't do anything except cheer him up from a distance? Don't you want to be the helper beside the dean and become the protagonist in those battles? Boom. A loud noise in the distance interrupted Lin Lai's words, and a familiar cold air came. Obviously, the attack of the ice giants appeared again. Lin Lai said nothing more, tore off the bandages on his body, turned around and rushed in the direction of the explosion. The mummies behind him followed one after another, and no one hesitated. Thank you for holding back to protect us. Although we are still weak now, we don't want to be looked down upon forever. Apostrophe. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 257, The Incident with the Braised Egg. The order is wrong with the previous one, but it doesn't affect the reading. Zheng Xian came this time. In addition to receiving these technologies, he also brought a message to Lizian. Nick Fury is in trouble. The director who commanded the battle majestically in the New York War, openly contradicted the decision of the council when he was dissatisfied with it, and later gave all superheroes a vacation under the pressure of the top leaders to let them escape the supervision and control of the council. Almost died. After hearing Zheng Xian's words, Lizian knew what was going on. During the time he was wandering in the universe, the plot of Captain America 2 Inches happened. Although this time and space has developed to the present, there are many more superheroes than in the movie, and even many villains have become the righteous side. But when Fury was in trouble, most people had reasons to be absent. Lizian doesn't need to say that Thor, the Avengers, has returned to Asgard to defend their homeland. Tony also went to Asgard to help with infrastructure construction under Lizian's lobbying. Banner disappeared after New York, and it is said that he went on a trip with Betty. Fortunately, in this time and space, Betty Ross did not disappear for no reason, but chose to continue to accompany Banner, even if there was no way to merge. Barton went home to be a daughter slave. After experiencing so many things, he is now particularly eager to return to his family, guard his wife and children, and not let them suddenly disappear inexplicably. The Avengers only have one Black Widow left, who helped Captain America out of danger at a critical moment, and successfully took Captain America's first kiss since his resurrection, completing the first kill. As for Lazia's super classmates, Parker and Jessica went to the UK, and the Electro Man settled down after Spider-Man disappeared, and seemed to have plans to go abroad. Harry once again started a worldwide hunting journey. Without Lazia's organization and Spider-Man's activeness, the Zodiac Guardian organization is already dead in name only. Without the support of superheroes, Captain America and Fury almost died after encountering the ambush and encirclement carefully arranged by Hydra. Just like in the movie, the Winter Soldier appeared as cold and ruthless as always, doing things that made the onlookers hate him so much that they wanted to kill him. Of course, everyone knows the ending. As the only childhood friend and best friend who survived at the same time as Captain America, the Winter Soldier cannot die. Even after Captain America knew that he killed his former friends Howard Stark and his wife, he resolutely protected him, because everything Bucky did by the Winter Soldier had reasons that were so powerful that others had to agree with him. First of all, he was a veteran of World War II and a combat hero. Secondly, he was captured by the Hydra organization during the battle, and then brainwashed and controlled, so all his actions were not intentional. We can hate or even hate what he did after being brainwashed, but we cannot deny Bucky as a person. If he has the opportunity to return to himself, his actions can actually be forgiven. As for the fact that he was sprayed by readers in this book and dared not appear, it's better not to mention it. Of course, if the incident between Fury and Captain America was just a minor incident, then the next incident would rise to the level of a major event. If Hydra really succeeded, the situation in the entire world would probably fall into chaos. Lazia could have guessed it without Zheng Zian saying that the three newly developed space carriers were controlled by Hydra. Once launched, they would be connected to the InSight satellite in the sky, thus being completely weaponized. At that time, the space carrier would become a devastating killing weapon, used to eliminate all people and organizations that threaten Hydra. This is a real killer, the powerful blow from the sky. Even if Iron Man is covered, it is difficult to survive. It is conceivable that once Hydra really accomplishes this, the consequences will be unimaginable. Fortunately, there is still a Captain America on Earth. Although in the Avengers, Captain America's personal strength is not ranked in the top or even in the last place, but with his strong personal charm and the hidden attributes of the title Captain America, he is a bug-like existence from beginning to end. Captain America's 50-50 is not a joke, but a myth. If Lazia knew that Captain America even picked up Thor's hammer and Stormbreaker in Avengers 4, her opinion of Captain America might be several levels higher. Under the active efforts of Captain America and Black Widow, three space carriers that can be said to represent the most advanced space technology on Earth were reduced to scrap metal before they were fully launched. Fortunately, there were some results. The Hydra members hidden in the top leadership of the United States were found, and the organization was completely exposed to the sun, which was countless times better than having three more space carriers. Now, the Earth is launching a worldwide campaign to combat the Hydra organization, and all countries including China are actively participating. I wanted to ask about the situation in China, but Lazia didn't ask in the end. After all, this question is too sensitive. The reason for the sensitivity is not in the book, but outside the book. Let Zheng Zian and other professional personnel handle these things. Lazia is not good at and doesn't like to participate in these things. There is nothing more comfortable than a good fight. However, according to the information Zheng Zian learned through special channels, Fury was not dead, but just went from the light to the dark, and no one knew where he had retreated. This gave Lazia a new understanding of the SHIELD, and the intelligence was indeed very powerful. Now, because of Fury's death, the exposure of the Hydra members in the board of directors was investigated, and now all matters of SHIELD were taken over by Commander Hill. Hearing this, Lazia held back a word in his heart and did not say it. In fact, in his heart, Hill was more suitable to be a commander than Fury. Whether it was his appearance or his figure, the feeling of being wrapped by those long legs was still fresh in people's memory. After Zheng Zian finished speaking, Lazia probably knew that the plot of Captain America 2 inches had been quietly passed during the time he was away, and the next thing should be Avengers 2 inches. Considering that Tony was still helping with infrastructure construction in Asgard and looting Asgard's high-tech technology, it was estimated that he would not have time to go back to Earth to mess with Ultron for a while, so Lazai was not in a hurry to go back to Earth, but was prepared to stay for a while and wait to go with Zheng Xian. Zheng Xian's team will stay on Xander for at least a month. After all, it is not possible to copy and paste the technical aspects. Zheng Xian wants more than Lazai. He wants to obtain not only the technology, but also the basic scientific and technological knowledge of Xander, because many advanced sciences are derived from the basics, and many things that are just ordinary civilian technology on Xander may play a big role in many aspects and even in the military industry when they are brought back to Earth. Unexpectedly, they stayed there for half a year. People who do scientific research are more stubborn. It is a rare trip and they will not give up easily if they don't understand many things. In the middle, Lazai wanted to go back. Later, at Zheng Xian's suggestion, he brought Gwen and Le Bing to Xander. What is traveling abroad? Traveling on the star is really high-end and classy. Le Bing is coming, and the children from the orphanage are also brought along. There is no need to worry about too many lies. By the way, Grandma Joan also came as a guardian, for the space technology of Xander. It is not a big deal to take an old man to travel through the universe. You can get there after a sleep. What Lazai didn't expect the most was that Uncle Lee also came. Although he was not young, he was still very energetic. Well, as long as you are happy. Chapter 258 Return to Earth. When Lazai got off the spaceship, he had been away from Earth for more than half a year. During this time, many things happened on Earth. First, in China, because the spaceship landed in China and Zheng Xian was right next to him, Lazai learned about the situation in China at the first time. During this period, the number of people and combat power of the Shield Bureau had made great progress again, and Zheng Xian had begun to prepare to follow the example of the Avengers of S.H.I.E.L.D. and organize a high-powered rapid response force also composed of superheroes, tentatively named Fengshen. Lazai did not comment on this name. Although Fengshen sounded earthy and second-rate, it was at least better than his Zodiac Guardian which existed in name only. In addition, the research on space debris has also made breakthrough progress, and even domestic scientists have begun to accelerate the space development plan. The first step in the plan is to explore the celestial body closest to the Earth, the Moon. The Moon, a little brother who has accompanied the Earth for billions of years, has always existed in various myths and legends since the beginning of human civilization. Like Artemis, the moon goddess in Greek mythology who is free and independent, loves wildlife, and opposes marriage between men and women, and chain flying to the moon in ancient China. By the way, Artemis promised her father Zeus that she would be a virgin forever since she was a child. It is unknown whether this was out of her own beliefs or for some other reason. After all, the encyclopedia says that Zeus slept with Persephone, the wife of his brother Hades, and gave birth to a daughter named Melino. So the question is, what should Melino call Athena? Her father is Athena's father, so she should be called sister. Her mother is Athena's sister, so she should be called aunt. And her nominal father is Athena's uncle, but her nominal father is also her mother's uncle. Is it messy? In fact, if Zeus's father Cronus did not swallow Zeus into his stomach after giving birth to him, but cut him off directly, Greek mythology might be more harmonious. Unfortunately, Cronus's own ass is not clean either, and the problems of this family are inherited from ancestors. Well, let's go back to the exploration and development of the moon, which has always been the dream of the human beings on Earth. Decades ago, the small step forward of the Americans became a big step for mankind. Decades later, the Chang lunar mission of the Celestial Empire, with the help of various cosmic technologies, saved more than 10 years. Soon, there will be a truly man-Chang series of probes landing on the moon, and this time, they plan to land on the back of the moon, which has never been set foot on by humans. Exploring the moon is just the beginning. The footsteps of human scientists will use the moon as a springboard to continue to explore outward. The next step is Venus, Mars, Ganymede, Titan and other large solar system celestial bodies with solid as the main component. After that, There will be a huge cosmic development plan with a century as the unit. These plans are not aimed at the strength of individual human beings, but for the future of the entire human race. With the increasing scarcity of natural resources and the continuous expansion of population, leaving the Earth has become something that humans must consider. Of course, such a huge plan will definitely not be done by the Celestial Empire alone, but a century-long plan for mankind led by the Celestial Empire and jointly developed by the forces of most countries in the world such as Asia-Pacific and the European Union. Once completed, it will be a great merit. It is foreseeable that in the near future, human beings will join the magnificent age of space exploration, and conquering the sea of stars will no longer be just a slogan. Lazian, who accidentally increased the speed of human technological progress countless times, did not have the consciousness of a savior at all. After getting off the spacecraft, he went directly to Laoyuan. Zodiac could not intervene in the progress and development of science and was not prepared to intervene. He positioned himself very accurately. I, Zodiac, am just a poor student. I am good at fighting. Don't bother me with other things. I don't understand. When he came to Laoyuan again, Zodiac was shocked by the changes in Laoyuan. To be honest, he had forgotten Laoyuan a long time ago during the half-decade of wandering in space. He really forgot it. He didn't remember at all that he opened the space tunnel between Laoyuan and Jotunheim, and instructed the ice giants to constantly cause trouble for Laoyuan students. As long as they couldn't kill them, they could do whatever they wanted. In the past half a decade, in order to gain Lazia's trust and support, the new king of the ice giants, Baragan, really played crazy. Jotunheim has been suppressed by Asgard for more than 1,000 years, and countless rough men and women have been holding back their anger and energy but have nowhere to release it. The emergence of Laoyuan has given them a good way to release their anger. If there is such a project, who would not want to participate? So, before Laziac took back the order, they madly wandered between Jotunheim and the Earth, appearing at any time and place in any occasion where there were Laoyuan students. Especially toilets and bathhouses have become the most frequented places for these bastards, because the students in these two places generally have poor defense awareness, and it is particularly exciting to beat them. Lazian naturally would not open the passage in the toilet and bathhouse, but they came so many times that they had already figured out the construction of Laoyuan. Usually after landing, they would march to the bathhouse as a team, and both boys and girls in Laoyuan were tossed out by them. Don't think that ice giants who like to wear crotch-covered clothes are all rough men. There are also many female ice giants who are not afraid of being censored by tying something on their bodies or simply not wearing anything. Ice giants, both men and women, are fanatical militants. So many people would rather run several kilometers to the toilet at the foot of the mountain to solve a pile of shit. The ice giants don't know where it is for the time being. Unconsciously, everyone has fully exercised their strength. The problem of taking a shower is actually easier to solve than going to the toilet, because the academy consciously moved the basic class of the 5 scum out of the area where the ice giants are impacted, and the rest are all students in the primary class. The primary class can already go to the Wulaofen waterfall to practice and take a shower at the same time, which is very convenient. There have also been some changes in the waterfall. Previously, at Lazia's request, the Wulaofen waterfall was raised to more than 300 meters high and the width was increased to dozens of meters. The huge impact of the waterfall water can even kill ordinary people. However, the students who entered the beginner class have long since left behind the ordinary people. Although the waterfall is scary and challenging for them, it is not invincible. Thank you Book Friend 2019062252204566179 for the 500 reward. By the way, I want to say that Lazia will definitely have a good ending, please believe me. Chapter 259 My Destiny as the Protagonist. At this time, the junior class has expanded to nearly 500 people. The later students did not witness the dean's punch that caused the waterfall to flow backwards. But in the various boasts of the old students, they have long been full of endless yearning for that shocking punch. Students who enter the junior class will never be without motivation to move forward. The dean is a mountain taller than the waterfall, which makes them look up to him. but they are unwilling to fall behind and climb bravely. After the canteen, dormitory, and even toilet and bathhouse were conquered by the ice giants, the Wulaofen waterfall has become the last line of defense for the students of La'ayuan. This is not only a natural bathhouse where they can put down their burdens and take a bath with peace of mind, but also a holy place in their hearts, a place that the ice giants are absolutely not allowed to invade. In the words of those old students, this is a holy land that needs to be guarded with the belief of death. Whenever they are tired and sleepy, they will not drink any Dong Zero special drink, but look back at the mountain that is slanted towards the waterfall. It seems that a pair of wise eyes are looking at them there and encouraging them. At this time, they will be full of energy again and bravely throw themselves into the never-ending battle with the ice giants. At this time, a great battle is taking place outside the Wulao Peak. The ice giants have unprecedentedly invested nearly 100 troops, vowing to conquer the Wulao Peak defended by the students and plant the flags of the frost giants on all the hills of Lashan. When facing an unprecedented attack of unprecedented scale and strength, the students also burst out with powerful fighting power. The natural aura of the leading few people is so strong that it is about to condense into a solid body. According to the dean, I am afraid they are not far from condensing back patterns. The clear and loud cry of the vermilion bird often echoes in the hearts of the students. They have longed for countless days and nights to have their own unique back patterns like the dean and become a real social person. And now, after nearly 2 years of hard work, one of them is finally going to succeed. Are all the children nowadays so hard-working? Lazian, who quietly returned to Lashan and appeared alone on the slope in front of the waterfall, couldn't help but be a little surprised when he saw the scene of the battle below. Is this a cave? Am I witnessing the rise of the human race? Shaking his head and getting rid of the illusion in his heart, Laziah also began to get serious. His small universe was released, covering all the students, ready to rescue them when they were in danger of death. When the battle was in full swing, they would get angry. At this time, it was not that one side would be able to hold back even if they wanted to. The battle was changing rapidly, even if the frost giants wanted to hold back at the beginning. When Lin Lai and his men began to burst out with natural energy, they found that if they really held back, they would be in danger of their lives. When facing a deadly siege, even people with good tempers would become irritable, not to mention the frost giants who were famous for their bellicosity in the 9 realms. At this time, the besieged people could no longer remember any instructions to hold back. They only had one belief in their hearts, to defeat the people who besieged them, even if it meant killing them. In the crowd, Lin Lai, Zhang Wen's and others greatly enhanced their fighting power due to the explosion of natural energy. Just when they thought they could turn the situation around with their few scouts, they suddenly found that the enemy's offensive had also increased. Moreover, the ice giants no longer held back, and all their attacks no longer deliberately avoided the vital points. Some ice giants even used magic, ice cones, ice shields, ice crystals, ice storms, and all kinds of ice magic that had only been seen in online games before were easily used by the ice giants. Lin Lai and others were fast enough to dodge, but the few people who were close were instantly knocked away, spitting blood in midair and lost consciousness. Someone is dead. A terrible thought flashed through Lin Lai's mind. Although he had previously guessed that these ice giants were hired by the dean as sparring partners and would not kill, fists and feet were blind, and he was more mature than his peers and had long been mentally prepared for someone to die. It was just that nothing happened for more than half a year, and the joy of his back pattern that was about to condense made him forget this idea a little. However, when the classmate who usually talked and laughed with him, and who often laughed back at him without getting angry, flew out in the air like a kite with a broken string, Lin Lai was stunned for a moment. On the battlefield, being stunned is courting death. The enemy will never miss the opportunity to kill you because of your temporary daze. Lin Lai has always known this, but he still can't avoid it when the time comes. Although it was only a short moment, he was still slow in his movements, and Barrigan on the opposite side found the opportunity and chopped him on the shoulder. Puff. The slash not only cut Lin Lai's bones, but also damaged his internal organs with great force. A mouthful of blood spurted out of his throat, and he followed the footsteps of that classmate and flew out like a dead dog. I am not willing to accept this. This is not the ending I should have. My classmates are still fighting. I can't fall down, let alone die. I want to be the savior of this battle. I can't leave the battlefield so hastily. Dean, give me strength. I want to become stronger. I want to protect my classmates, the Lushan sanctuary, the country, and humanity. Lazai on the slanting peak also saw this scene. He didn't know about Lin Lai's inner cry, otherwise he would have sneered. If unwillingness can make you stronger, then the threshold to become a strong person is too low. Of course, he didn't go to rescue him, because this was a crisis and an opportunity for Lin Lai. From the actions and strength of the two just now, he could see that Lin Lai would not die from this blow. On the contrary, if the protagonist of this story was Lin Lai, based on the strength he just showed and his performance in the past 6 months reported by the school secretary, this would definitely be an opportunity for him to rebound and burst out. Perhaps because of this knife, the back pattern that he had been unable to condense for a long time can be condensed, so that he can embark on the road of beating various villains and even the dean himself. Thinking of this, Lazai had an urge to finish the knife. I don't want to be a villain killed by a brave man. Lin Lai, flying in the air, didn't know that his idol, the godlike dean, had the idea of attacking him and getting his head. At this moment, he was in a strange state. Although his body was in unbearable pain, his consciousness was in a mysterious state of excitement. I might die. No, I might start to cheat. Chapter 260 A Big Sword. Oh my God, she really gave birth. Giving birth on the battlefield. Not getting promoted on the battlefield. You are not really the protagonist, are you? Lin Lai was in midair, and all the pores on his body suddenly opened like gates, and the natural energy around him began to gather rapidly and rushed in crazily. At this moment, he even subconsciously hummed. This feeling is like the feeling when you accidentally rubbed, slid down, and shivered when you dreamed of double the thing, and your whole soul was sublimated. The rapidly gathering natural energy hit his body, making him feel like he was flying in the clouds. The surging impact force was like the thousands of zero in the body of a male trout. That's right, he is the female trout, and he feels full of power in his body. Looking at the vortex formed by the natural energy in the distance under his feet, Lazai's eyebrows trembled unconsciously. Damn, why does she feel more like the protagonist than me? Those who upgrade in battle are all hanging on the wall, and you have an ecstatic expression as if you can't hold it back. Who are you mocking, bastard? The metaphor that has been astonished by countless readers is still vivid in Lazai's mind after experiencing it himself. Why am I a big man, but you seem to be shivering and enjoying it all the time? Why, you are still laughing. Still laughing in a yummy way. If you laugh again I will go down and chop you to death with one knife. Knock it out. On the battlefield, everyone also found something strange. The gathering of natural energy led the air to form a vortex with Lin Lai as the center, stirring the people nearby and making them unstable. Berrigan subconsciously wanted to go up and make another knife when he saw this. It was obvious that his opponent was advancing. He could tie with himself without using ice magic before. After the advancement, wouldn't he be able to fight against himself with full power? Maybe he couldn't do it. He took a step forward and was about to raise his hands to swing the knife. Suddenly, a chill rushed from his back to his head. Berrigan couldn't help but shiver. He still remembered the feeling of being in crisis. This was Saint Seiya. In an instant, Berrigan's forehead was covered with cold sweat, and his mind became clear again. Yes, I came to train them, not to kill people. Fortunately, the Saint Seiya stopped me. Fortunately, Berrigan stopped without leaving a trace. He did not dare to look up to find Lazai's location, but knowing that he was nearby was enough. Berrigan knew Lazai's purpose, which was nothing more than to let them help these children grow up. The kid who was chopped by him in front of him was obviously successful. Then what about the remaining children who were very active? It seemed that they were just one step away from the final blow. Should I go up and chop them one by one? I suddenly felt so excited for some reason. Just when Berrigan was struggling, the momentum of Lin Lai in front of him finally accumulated to the peak. With a roar, his clothes suddenly burst and scattered, revealing a strong body of muscles. At this time, no one noticed his muscular body that would make rotten girls drool and wet their fronts. Everyone's eyes were on his back. Countless natural energy-emitting green light gathered on his naked back. The light became brighter and brighter, even a little dazzling, and then there was a burst of flashes, and the light gradually dimmed. And on Lin Lai's back, a pattern also appeared at this time. It was his back pattern, a sword, an ancient sword that was all green, and there were many stars flashing on the sword surface. So amazing, the momentum just now was so strong. Is this the condensed back pattern? So cool, an ancient sword. This back pattern must have a great origin. The momentum just now was so strong. Yes, I don't know what our back pattern will be. The dean said that the back pattern is a manifestation of the condensation of a person's inner self. So, Lin Lai turned out to be a sword. The students didn't know what the back pattern would be. When they saw the ancient sword with a mysterious shape, they were immediately envious and yearning. The powerful momentum bursting out from him made everyone want to condense the back pattern immediately. As for whether it was a sword or not, no one cared. As long as they can become stronger, they don't care about swords, pigs, dogs, or even donkeys. Open the gene lock for me. Condensate the back pattern and defeat them. Encouraged by Lin Lai's breakthrough, the students instantly rushed forward like they were injected with chicken blood. Not only were they full of momentum, but many people who were originally average also had a strong natural aura rising from their bodies. The momentum of Zhang Wen's and others rose to the top, and they were about to break through. Lin Lai led the way, shining with green light, and the whole person turned into a sharp sword, instantly cutting the nearby ice giant team apart. On the oblique peak, Zodiac looked at the sword on Lin Lai's back and fell into deep self-doubt. Did he teach wrongly? As far as he knew, all the people who condensed back patterns in Saint Seiya had animal patterns on their back patterns, such as Tongnu's tiger pattern, Shiru's rising dragon pattern, and the white Z pattern in nine-tailed fox and LC, as well as that person's pleasant goat, etc., including his current divine beast, the vermilion bird, which is strictly speaking also an animal. I have never heard that a back pattern can be an artifact. Could it be that Lin Lai's enjoyment just now is related to his sword? This is a big sword. For a while, Zodiac couldn't figure this out, but he was not afraid. Anyway, there were still many people on the edge of promotion. He would wait until they were promoted and condensed their back patterns. Was he too ignorant, or was Lin Lai really the one-in-a-million protagonist? It was time to witness a miracle. With the outbreak of the students, the ice giants also felt the pressure, and at the same time, they all began to let go and exert their full strength. After Lin Lai was promoted, he was indeed on par with Bear again, but he could not support himself alone. The overall strength of the students was still behind the opponent, and the momentum driven by him became passive again after the ice giants began to take it seriously. The battle entered a real white-hot stage again. From time to time, students missed the opportunity to dodge due to impulsiveness and were scratched by the weapons of the ice giants. Some wounds were even very close to the vital parts. The slightest mistake would result in death on the spot. Zodiac no longer watched the show indifferently. His small universe began to move frequently, thanks to the blessing of the ice treasure box. He felt the movements and intentions of the ice giants more clearly, so he could help those reckless students avoid fatal attacks again and again. As the battle continued, someone finally broke out again. Zodiac also cast his eyes over at the first time. The reason was very simple. The person who wanted to break through was a girl. Girls always need to be treated preferentially. It has nothing to do with exploding clothes. Chapter 261, Defying the Heavens and Changing Fate. The person who shines this time is Zhang Wenqiu. When she felt that she was going to be promoted, she was also confused. Happiness seemed to come too suddenly. If Zodiac hadn't appeared, Zhang Wenqiu would have been preparing to apply for an art college, and after graduation, she would pursue her dream of entering the entertainment industry with a pure heart. The situation in the entertainment industry is complicated. Maybe she will meet a noble person and fly up to the tree and become a phoenix. However, it is more likely that in the fiercely competitive entertainment industry, she does not have any chance to stand out because of her not outstanding appearance and her average acting skills. In the end, She was forced to commit to the unspoken rules to fight for a chance to get promoted. If everything goes well, she may become popular in a small range first, and accumulate a certain amount of popularity and fans, and then slowly sell her personality and buy some fans, become a traffic flower, appear on variety shows to gain fame, and then concentrate on polishing her acting skills, waiting for an opportunity to become famous overnight. At that time, all the old wishes can be put aside and step into a different and wonderful life again. Who would care and who would believe that she had such a small stain? Even if someone with bad intentions really mentioned it, she could just smile and ignore it. People always laugh at poverty but not at prostitutes. Being rich and famous is polite. Caring so much will only add to the troubles, unless she meets someone who cares, and this person happens to know about her shameful little thing, and becomes a thorn in the hearts of both of them. And she loves this person too deeply. She wants to get close to him, but she doesn't want to let her impure self stay by his side, feeling that it has defiled him. Until the day when the incident was exposed, she could endure the criticism of others, but she couldn't bear his comfort. Then on a quiet night, she came naked and left naked, dust to dust, fulfilled herself, and became a scar in that person's heart that can never be erased. I love you, it's me, Zhang Wenqiu, who loves you, but I'm sorry, there is no Zhang Wenqiu in this world anymore. This is really a black-hearted story. It's bright inside. Fortunately, Lizai appeared before Zhang Wenqiu had to make the most important decision in her life, and her life has since embarked on a completely different path. What is even more surprising is that she not only successfully stood out from more than 10,000 people and became the first batch of students to advance from the basic class to the junior class, but also became the second person after Limelight to break through and condense the back pattern. This was beyond everyone's expectations. In the crowd, Barragan hid his merits and fame. Don't thank me, this is what I should do. Retracting the long knife, Barragan continued to look for the next student who was about to break through, and the big knife in his hand was thirsty. Do you want to be promoted? Then let me cut it. Professionally undertake various promotion tasks. Don't pay 998, one knife will be delivered to your home for free. The clothes burst quickly. The Lushan system condensed the back pattern or the back pattern appeared. It would be wrong if the clothes did not burst. Although Zhang Wenqiu, who was being promoted, was a girl, she still could not escape this rule. In just a moment, the fiery red light broke through her clothes and wrapped her in it. Unlike Lin Lai's green, Zhang Wenqiu's natural energy was the same fiery red as Lizai's. When it reached its peak, it emitted a dazzling flash, and then the flames turned into the shape of a large bird, which raised its head and uttered a loud phoenix cry, then slowly became smaller, and finally imprinted on her back. Zhang Wenqiu, who had completed the promotion, stood there with a fierce look on his face. His upper body clothes disappeared, and only a few circles of white bandages were wrapped around his armpits, making his hooked and diudiu body look heroic and charming. Lizai on the slope was stunned. Didn't you say that the clothes would burst? What the hell are you doing with those bandages? There is also such a ghost operation? But soon, Lizai was relieved. This way of wearing doesn't seem strange in the Saint Seiya world. When the first tyrant of the whole series asked Sister Yi to wear the saint clothes, it seemed that Li Kun tied it like this. This Zayu fist is the same. It was not easy for the female students in La Ayuan. Fortunately, they thought of this method to protect themselves. Otherwise, it would be too demoralizing to open the door to welcome guests every time their clothes exploded. Strictly speaking, this should be considered as Lizai's negligence, who told him that these girls would practice so fast, and he stayed in Xander for so long at once. Although he was covered with bandages, the back pattern on Zhang Wenqiu's back was still visible through the bandages. It was a big fiery red bird, and its shape and color were somewhat similar to the Suzaku on Lizai's back. However, the details were different. Her firebird had two pupils in each eye. Lizai didn't know the name of Lin Lai's big sword, but he recognized Zhang Wenqiu's fiery red bird. It looked like a chicken, sounded like a phoenix, and had two pupils in its eyes. This should be the legendary divine bird Chongming. The appearance of Chongming bird saved Lizia's face a little. It seemed that Lin Lai was indeed a special case. The back pattern should be normal for animals. But then, he was slapped in the face again. The short-haired Ah Cheng was the third to have a back pattern, and his back pattern was a group of squiggly things. At first, Lizia thought it was a snake or a similar animal, but after a closer look, he realized that it was not a snake at all. Not only was it not a snake, but it was not an animal either, but a whip. Whip, do you dare to imagine it? The big sword is outrageous enough. Is the whip reasonable? Will there be candles, gag balls, flea eggs, fake shit? What a mess I am talking about. My mind has been a little confused recently, all because of the unstable international situation. Maybe one day my account will be hacked. So scary. Seeing the back pattern of the whip, Lizia completely gave up. Whenever we feel that we understand something, we always find that we still know too little about this world. Only by always maintaining a fearful heart and calmly welcoming the arrival of unknown things can we make our thoughts clear and our lives complete. So when two gemstone rings appeared on the back of the girl named Ji Shuang after Ah Cheng, Lizia was no longer sad or happy. The battle is still going on, but as more and more students break through, the situation on the battlefield has gradually become balanced from one-sided. In this process, more and more ice giants have completely let go of their restraints and fully unleashed their abilities. Among the students, many have been promoted, but there are even more who have been knocked down and lost their combat effectiveness. As time goes by, the people on the field who have accumulated to the edge of promotion have completed the condensation of their back patterns, about 10 of them, while the rest are still far behind. Seeing that it is almost done, Lizia silently activated the ice treasure box. A blue light flashed, and the ice giants instantly ascended to the sky, while the students on the field, including Lin Lai and others, collapsed on the ground in exhaustion. We held on. Chapter 262. Don't scare me. Yes, they held on. This defensive battle between 500 Lion students and 100 ice giants was finally held with difficulty after 9 people were promoted. When the ice giant disappeared, there were almost no people who could stand, and those who lay down, if they did not take the time to treat, might die. For the students, this is not actually a victory, because the ice giant only retreated passively, and did not completely lose its combat effectiveness. And from the beginning, the ice giant was not fighting with the purpose of killing them. Otherwise, half of the students would lie down forever after a confrontation, and it would be difficult for everyone, including Lin Lai, to survive in the end. Of course, despite this, it is already amazing for the students. After all, before coming to Liayuan, they were all children born in peacetime, raised in a greenhouse, and spoiled by their parents and relatives. War and sacrifice were originally far away from them. They were able to withstand such a high-intensity battle, and no one deserted in the end. This is enough to prove that all the students present are great. They actually didn't need to do this at all. Congratulations, you won. The war microcosm enveloped all the wounded. Not only could the water and the holy cup of the giant duke heal any injury, but the power of his microcosm, enhanced by the reality gem, also had a strong healing ability. With his help, the students instantly felt a stream of warmth, their wounds began to heal, their bruises began to dissipate, and even some of those who had already fainted began to wake up. Only those broken bones were not healed by Lizia for the time being. They needed to wait for professional treatment to reset them. Otherwise, if they grew back to their current state, Liayuan would soon become a concentration camp for deformed children. Hearing the familiar voice and feeling the warm power, the students were all shocked and looked in one direction at the same time, only to see that their dean had appeared in the crowd without knowing when. The holy cup of the giant duke was turned into a holy cup and held by Lizia. If there were those whose injuries were too serious and looked like they might fart at any time, he would go up and pry open their mouths to give them a sip. The wounded who drank the water immediately became energetic and revived on the spot with full status, which was much better than Xinchun's dean. Seeing this scene, many people's eyes sparkled. That feeling was like when you have completed a request from your parents with great difficulty, and then look forward to their praise and comfort. You are all good, really, Lizaya said with a smile, and he was really praising these children. After all, these students are different from him. They can have their current strengths through training and accumulation. Unlike him, he became stronger after getting used to being wheeled on the holy clothes box. Some people with more emotional personalities cried on the spot. "Dad, did you see that? I did it." These were tears of pride and joy. Clapping his hands to draw everyone's attention, Lizaya said with a smile, "Okay, the celebration banquet will be held tonight, and the injured will be treated by medical staff in a while. Now, please allow me to ask a question personally." Turning to look at Lin Lai, who was laughing foolishly beside him as if nothing had happened, Lizaya smiled subtly. "Excuse me, classmate Lin Lai, how does it feel to carry a big sword? Can you share your experience with the students who haven't condensed the back pattern yet?" The expression on Lin Lai's face froze. There was nothing wrong with what the dean said. The back pattern on his back was indeed a sword, and there was nothing wrong with sharing his experience. But for some reason, he felt that there was something else behind the dean's words. Lin Lai cleared his throat, looking at the expectant eyes of the students who did not have backlines. He was usually eloquent but was a little speechless at this moment. That, in fact, is a kind of release after repression. Lin Lai finally thought of a suitable metaphor. Yes, just like you have a need for something but cannot get it, and you have been suppressing it in your body. When this need is suppressed to a certain extent, it will naturally overflow when it is full, and then you will enter a magical world, and every cell in your body will feel joy and excitement. At this time, you will find that the whole world is different from what you know. It is no longer boring, but red is gorgeous, pink is fragile, white is gorgeous, black is mysterious and deep. The whole world is full of attraction to you, making you have an endless desire to explore in depth, Lin Lai said, and his face once again showed the feeling of penetrating the world when the endless natural air washed his pores at the moment of promotion. The expression of enjoyment made the students next to him stiffen their arms. Clenching his fists tightly, a 12-year-old boy with a height of nearly 1.9 meters roared in a serious voice, "I will definitely work harder and strive to catch up with senior brother Lin Lai as soon as possible." Lizaya, who was standing next to him, didn't know why a row of black lines appeared on his forehead. He didn't know which physical education teacher taught Lin Lai's Chinese class. He wanted to give him a bonus when he returned. He said it too. "Well, why didn't I think of such vivid words to describe this world before?" Talents emerge in every generation. This Lin Lai is a talent and worth cultivating. The experience exchange meeting is still going on. Zhang Wenshu, Cheng and others have also expressed their feelings about promotion in turn. Although many people said it unclearly, it is still a reference value for those students who have not yet been promoted. Afterwards, medical staff arrived at the scene, and all the seriously injured people on the scene were properly taken away. After arranging the remaining people to summarize the previous battle and find out the shortcomings, Lizaya took Lin Lai, Ji Xuang and A Cheng to the top of the inclined peak. The reason why I want to meet these three people separately is that their back patterns are very unique, which are a big sword, a whip, and a ring. There is always a feeling that they are a strange combination. What should I do? On the top of the slanting peak, Lizaya sat cross-legged, with a bamboo hat on his head to hold down his messy hair. He looked like Teacher Tong Lu when he just sat in charge of the 5 old peaks. Zhang Wenshu's back pattern is a double-headed bird, and the others are also animals, but I can't tell the origin of yours. Can you tell me? The three of them looked at each other, and Lin Lai spoke first. Mine is Fuxi sword, Shannon whip, Nuwa gauntlet. Lizaya's brain was not enough again. Fuxi, Shannon, Nuwa, your combination sounds a bit sharp. Let me explain. Lin Lai, A King, and Ji Xuang are from the comic Three Emperors Fighting Warriors co-produced by NetEase and Marvel. Chapter 263, Avengers Return. Fuxi sword, Shannon whip, and Nuwa gauntlet all sound related to the ancient gods in the mythology of the Celestial Empire, but Lin Lai and the other two couldn't tell what the specific relationship was. As for Lizaya, he couldn't tell. By the way, the so-called Nuwa gauntlet looks more like a pair of bracelets. As to why it is like this, you may have to ask the editor of a certain Yi. Maybe I can ask Teacher Tongyu the next time I meet him, but Tongyu may not know. After all, this is the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which is still very different from the Saint Seiya world. Didn't Dieter understand the origin of the icebox? Fortunately, Lazai is not a person who likes to tangle. If you don't understand something, don't bother with it for the time being. Maybe you will forget it tomorrow. After that, Lazai asked the three of them to delay the ability of their back tattoos. Lin Lai's sword has a momentum to cut through everything, and its attributes are very similar to the Holy Sword of Capricorn. It's a pity that Mr. El Cid, the commander of the army, has never appeared, so Lazai has no way to teach him the moves of the Holy Sword. She can only teach him the weapon routines that Teacher Tongyu has taught. Of course, Lin Lai actually has a better choice. After all, swordsmanship is not Tongyu's main attack direction. He can only say that he knows it but cannot be said to be proficient in it. It is just a reference. A Kang's whip is similar. The routines taught by Tongyu include 3-section whips and nunchakus, which are also 2 weapons in the arsenal of Libra. However, no matter which one, it is far from a Kang's long whip, so he can only give up. However, Lazai can teach Ji Shuang's fist armor more. Saint Seiya basically fights with fists, so don't know too many fist techniques. Ji Shuang's fist armor seems to be of water attribute, so I won't say much about other things. Lushan Sheng Longba is very suitable for her moves. Although without the support of the small universe, the power will be reduced a lot, but it is basically enough. After discussing the 3 people, Lazai continued to communicate with Zhang Wenshu and others, and learned about each person's back pattern and attributes, and gave some targeted and reasonable suggestions and guidance. After that, Lazai went directly to Jotunheim. For these ice giants in Jotunheim, they also need to thank and comfort them. After all, they have no obligation to help Lazai go to Laiyuan as a nanny and sparring partner, and this time, with the promotion of Laiyuan students, many ice giants who participated in the battle were seriously injured. The process of comforting the ice giants is much simpler than Lazai imagined. Take out the ice treasure box and let them touch it, and then promise them that they can fight anytime they want in the future. Laiyuan on the earth will continue to expand the scale of the battle, and even let them let go of their hands and feet and fight happily in the future. After that, the ice giants screamed and were excited as if they were going to the big sword collectively. After easily dealing with the ice giant, Lazai originally wanted to go to Asgard to see how the Asgard was being repaired, and to take Tony back to Earth, but was told that Tony had already returned under Thor's escort. Thor also stayed on Earth for the time being and did not return to Asgard. After Lazai rushed back to Earth without stopping, she heard the latest news about the Avengers from Zheng Xian. It is said that since Fury's accident, both S.H.I.E.L.D. and the Avengers have been in a state of stagnation for a long time. It was not until a few months ago that they resumed their normal working state under the coordination of Hill, the new S.H.I.E.L.D. commander. According to the latest intelligence, just a few days ago, all the Avengers assembled and successfully destroyed the Hydra base in Europe, and successfully took back the Mind Scepter that was stolen by Hydra during the Fury incident. According to Zheng Xian's communication with S.H.I.E.L.D., they seemed to agree with Thor's proposal and prepared to take the Mind Scepter back to Asgard for safekeeping. This is roughly the situation. Tomorrow morning, which is the evening of local time, the Avengers will hold a celebration party and farewell party at Iron Man's Stark Tower, and then Thor will leave with the Mind Scepter. Zheng Xian looked at his watch. I'll apply for a flight route for you. If you leave now, you should be able to catch up with them for a drink. Lazai's official identity is a consultant for S.H.I.E.L.D., but he has a good relationship with Tony, Thor and others, especially Black Widow and Hill. Let's not talk about it, or Gwen will be angry. If he is still in Xandar and hasn't come back, it's fine. Since he's back in time, it doesn't seem right to go over and get together. After all, the Avengers can't get together at any time. Calculating the time in his mind, Lazai nodded and agreed to Zheng Xian's arrangement. Although he could use Mo Yi's wings to fly across half the world to New York, he finally decided to take the brick plane. Who would want to be so tired if they are not in a hurry? It just so happens that one of Tony's private planes is parked in China, and Lazai can use it at will. Sometimes he even forgets that he is still a major shareholder of Stark Industries. Damn, I forgot to divide the money recently. Holding Gwen and having a good sleep on the plane can not only waste energy but also relax the mind and body. Why not do it? The plane shuttled through the clouds over the Pacific Ocean. Lazai and Gwen hugged each other and lay on the wide bed, looking at the white clouds outside the window like cotton floating on the water. For some reason, Gwen's face suddenly looked a little worried. "What's wrong? Didn't you have fun just now?" Lazai asked with some doubts. From Xander to returning to Earth, the fights between the two always ended with Gwen begging for mercy, and judging from the movements and expressions, it is impossible to pretend. What does this expression mean now? It can't be because I am too strong and she can't bear it. So she wants to find someone to share the boring pain. If so, who should I choose? Black Widow and Hill are one older and one taller. Their figures are good, but they are a little older. But it is said that the older ones are more caring and have better skills and fewer mistakes, unlike young people who use their teeth at every turn. But if I have to choose, I still prefer Felicia. This fairy secretary's massage skills are unique, not worse than a massage chair. No, if she really said that, she might be trying to trick me into thinking if I have bad intentions. Should I pretend to be reserved and given first, and then agree when she asks me for the third time? Just when Lazai was thinking about it, Gwen suddenly sighed. "Oh, I'm useless." "What are you talking about?" Lazai frowned on the surface, but in fact, her heart was blooming. Sure enough, she was guessed. "It's okay, little Gwen, just speak out your demands boldly. It's nothing to have more sisters, even if it's your cousin who has C at such a young age. I won't reject it." If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 264. You threaten me. In life, there are often some illusions, such as she is looking at me, she likes me, she doesn't mind me with other girls. Well, strictly speaking, the last one can't be called an illusion, but a scumbag. Is Lazai a scumbag? He certainly won't admit it. Moreover, he firmly believes that there can't really be a man in this world who will never secretly fantasize about other girls under any circumstances after having a girlfriend or wife. All men who deny this are thieves with no courage, but Lazai is different. He openly fantasizes about sleeping with Gwen, Felicia and the Little Witch. After thinking about it, the sky was bright. When I opened my eyes, I heard Gwen say in a particularly sad tone, "I found that no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't help you, and as you become more and more powerful and go to more and more places, I can't even stay with you." So, is this what you are worried about? Seeing the worry on Gwen's face, Lazai felt an inexplicable pity in his heart. This was the girl he had known since he traveled through time. Although she was not as pretty as Alyssa Kiara, her figure was not as explosive as Black Widow, her legs were not as long as Hill's, and her personality was not as coquettish as Felicia's, but she was the most gentle, considerate, smart and capable Gwen, and the one that suited him best. "Actually, you don't need to worry so much. Really." Lazai hugged Gwen tightly, as if to rub her into his chest. "You don't have to make yourself so tired. Superheroes are heroes, but they are also human beings in the final analysis. For people, saving the world is just a temporary interest. Their real purpose is to have a happy and healthy family and someone worthy of their protection and love in this peaceful and tranquil world. Otherwise, what's the point of protecting this world?" Lazai was actually not a person who was very good at saying sweet words. Otherwise, he would have coaxed Gwen to help him open a harem. His strength was there, so the only thing he could do was to express his true feelings. "You know what? If the world is going to be destroyed, and I can only save one woman, I will choose you without hesitation, because when I look at other women, it is lust, but when I look at you, it is love. Are you happy? Are you touched? Don't cry, girl, let's unlock new postures together." After Lazai finished speaking, she looked down at Gwen with a sincere face, expecting the other party to take the initiative to throw herself into his arms. However, Gwen's brows suddenly frowned, Lust? You said you feel lust when you look at other women? Ding. There seemed to be a sound of something falling and breaking in the dark. Lazai had a constipated expression on her face. I said so much and you only heard this one word? How is it possible? Regardless of whether he had let it slip or not, he would never admit to such a thing. Lazai swore, I am almost being squeezed dry by you. How can I have lust for other women? Don't accuse me. I'm not. I didn't. Don't talk nonsense. You dared to say I heard it wrong. Gwen climbed up and pressed Lazai's shoulders. Her big breasts were like two huge drops of water, hanging at the corners of Lazai's mouth, within reach of her tongue. Facing the intimidation of the E-Cup boss, Lazai remained calm. You definitely heard it wrong. Hiss. Don't mess up. I'm talking about business. The plane continued to fly, but because of the collision airflow, it experienced severe turbulence. Fortunately, the captain was an experienced driver. Under his leadership, the entire crew sat in their seats with panicked expressions, fastened their seat belts throughout the journey, and finally safely survived the turbulence that lasted for several hours. When the plane landed in New York, the chief flight attendant sincerely sighed that the flight carrying Director Lee was much more dangerous than Mr. Stark's flight. This was definitely a huge test for the crew both physically and mentally. Moreover, as a woman in her 30s, she sincerely admired Director Lee's girlfriend for her strength and ability, and wanted to ask on behalf of the entire crew of female flight attendants, have you ever considered changing your boyfriend? We are very happy to be the scapegoat. After the plane landed, Lazai first sent Gwen home to rest, and then rushed to Stark Tower without stopping. It was almost evening, and the celebration banquet of the Avengers and the farewell party prepared for Thor might have already begun. Lazai had to rush over. Drinking was of course secondary. The point was that the one who appeared at this party should be called a thing. Artificial intelligence should not be considered a person. At most, it is a program with a unique algorithm and autonomous consciousness. Therefore, the Ultron who is about to be born cannot be regarded or described as a person. Yes, Ultron. Although the current plot is very different from the original movie, Lazai can't guarantee that Tony will give up his research on Ultron because of this. Especially Zheng Xian said that they broke through Hydra's European Scovia base and took back the Mind Scepter, which is obviously the beginning of Avengers 2 inches. However, Zheng Xian's intelligence did not mention that there was a pair of siblings in the Hydra base, which made Lazai a little confused. I don't know whether Zheng Xian's intelligence work is not perfect enough, or because of my intervention, the Maximoff siblings were blown away by the butterfly wings. Although the airport is some distance away from Stark Tower, it is nothing for Lazai. He can get there in less than 10 minutes, and all the questions will be answered by then. Just as Lazai was on his way, an accident happened, just like in the movie. Many people came to the party this time. In addition to the Avengers, there were also S.H.I.E.L.D. Commander Hill, Tony's good friend Colonel Rhodes, and Dr. Helen, a beautiful doctor from South Korea who had clearly rejected Tony's invitation to the party but came to attend for Thor. Dr. Zhao's main research project is tissue regeneration in organisms, a powerful biological black technology. Its effect is somewhat similar to Dr. Connor's lizard gene technology, but the principle is completely different. I wonder if we can cooperate in some aspects, learn from each other's strengths and weaknesses and take what we need. In addition to these people, there were many colleagues or relatives from related departments, including Mr. Lee, at the scene. This level of large-scale party is an important occasion for building connections and expanding the circle of friends, and many people will not give up the opportunity to participate. However, just when they were having fun, an accident happened. First, a sharp buzzing sound rang out from the speakers, causing a light-away destruction to everyone's ears, and then a broken metal skeleton that seemed to fall apart at any time staggered out. Ultron appeared as expected. Chapter 265, Age of Ultron. The birth of Ultron should be considered an accident. At first, it was just an idea discussed by Tony and Banner. Its main function was to control Tony's Iron Legion so that superheroes who were tired of dealing with various dangerous events could be liberated from the quagmire. Imagine that when there is war or unrest in a certain place, the Avengers are unable to get away for various reasons. or they are too far away from the scene to arrive in time. At this time, a fast response Iron Army commanded by Ultron arrives instantly. They have super mobility, are equipped with a large amount of heavy firepower, and dare to fight and fight regardless of sacrifice. Faced with such an Iron Army, even the most extreme terrorists have to admit defeat. Not to mention, there are so many aliens in this movie universe, who may appear in outer space at any time and threaten the safety of the Earth. With this Iron Army, humans can really keep the enemy out and keep the war outside the Earth. And to achieve all this, only one Ultron is needed, an artificial intelligence with autonomous consciousness, which can flexibly analyze intelligence and reasonably arrange countermeasures. Real artificial intelligence, not those slutty bastards on the market that answer questions irrelevantly and play songs for you when you ask for directions. Unfortunately, due to the everlasting human vigilance against mechanical intelligent life and the limitations of technology, Ultron has always been just a fantasy concept that stays on Tony and Banner's computer and cannot become a reality. However, the Mind Scepter taken back after the destruction of the Hydra base provided an opportunity for the birth of Ultron. Under Tony's research, he found something inside the Mind Scepter, an unknown existence that is similar to the activity of human brain neurons. Tony doesn't know whether this thing exists in the scepter from the beginning or was developed by Hydra's researchers. Hydra's researchers are no weaker than Tony. They have developed many advanced robots, but they have been destroyed when Tony arrived. But Tony doesn't care. An incident that happened at the end of the assault gave him only one idea now, which is to put the creation of Ultron on the agenda as soon as possible, because there is not much time left for the Earth. For this reason, without obtaining anyone's consent, he and Banner started the research and development of Ultron with the machine butler Jarvis as the medium. Without any safety measures, everyone left the R&D room and went to the party. The atmosphere at the party was very lively, and everyone had a great time, including Colonel Rhodes, who had not yet officially joined the Avengers and was like a little transparent in front of the superheroes. He gained respect and happiness from those ordinary friends. At the end of the party, when almost all the irrelevant people had left and only the Avengers were left at the scene, Ultron appeared. Ultron, who had just appeared, looked like a broken toy robot. In fact, his temporary body was indeed made up of broken steel armor. Ultron staggered out, saying some incoherent words, and his thinking logic was not on a normal channel like a drunkard. But this broken steel armor was different from others. It had independent thinking and was not controlled by Tony's remote control. Even from its words, a message was revealed that it seemed to have eaten Jarvis. Yes, Tony's robot butler Jarvis, who was so powerful that he could do more than a real person, was eaten by this guy who called himself Ultron. When it pointed at everyone and said, "You are a group of murderers, and my mission is to maintain the peace of this era," everyone realized that something serious had happened. Under the command of Ultron, multiple steel armors flew out of the maintenance warehouse and attacked everyone. The fashionable and modern party scene instantly turned into a messy battlefield. Fortunately, most of the people present are superheroes. Even Hill, an ordinary person, is an agent. When facing emergencies, there is no possibility of being crushed, whether in terms of on-the-spot reaction or skills. Solving these troubles is just a matter of time. Of course, there were also accidents at the scene. For example, after Tony lost the help of Jarvis, he could not complete the dress of the steel battlesuit. The American captain could not dismantle the armor without a shield. Banner did not dare to transform, and the Black Sister Barton was not strong enough to attack, etc. Only Thor was an exception, because everyone was playing the game of who can pick up my hammer and I will marry him. So Thor's hammer was in Thor's hand at this time, and he could smash a steel armor with a casual hammer. 80, 80, 80. While Hammer was enjoying his hammering, Dr. Zhao, who would rather get slapped in the face than attend the party, was in crisis at the piano. As a completely ordinary person and a non-combatant, when she faced a steel armor alone, even if it was a broken steel armor, she could do nothing except to face death and not make any noise to affect others. The young and beautiful female doctor squatted on the ground trembling with fear. At this moment, she hoped that the godlike man would appear in front of her and save her, but when she turned her head, she saw that the man over there was still swinging the hammer. 80, 80, 80. Dr. Zhao wanted to close her eyes in despair. I wish I could turn into an anvil in my next life, and be beaten, flattened and rounded by you day and night. Clang! A loud noise above her head interrupted her prayer, and even the half of the steel armor in front of her that was ready to attack looked up. Just as it raised its head, a silver-white figure descended from the sky and stepped on the steel armor's head, crushing it into a pile of scrap metal. Hey, it's so lively, who can tell me what we missed? Lizian nodded to Captain America, who had just rushed over and stopped, and bent down to put the person he was holding down. Thor. As soon as the man stood firm, he rushed towards the ironworker not far away, and Thor raised his head. A flash of surprise flashed across his face, and then turned into laughter, throwing the hammer to catch the person who jumped towards him. Jane, why are you here? Thor's hammer, which was thrown by Thor in order to hug the beauty, flew in another direction before it landed. Bang! Lizian stretched out his arms, opened his palms and caught Thor's hammer in his hands. Were you playing whack-a-mole just now? It seems quite fun. I want to try too. 80, 80, 80. Dr. Zhao, who was squatting, looked at the back of this guy who had just appeared and was showing off his might with the Thor's hammer that no one except Thor could lift before. His eyes were infatuated. Chapter 266, Bloody Episode. With the joint efforts of the Avengers, Ultron's iron cripples were simply powerless. Lizian's arrival only accelerated their demise. In less than a minute, the battle was over. Looking at the iron armor that was beaten into pieces, Ultron smiled. Yes, it should be a program, and his broken mask could not show the expression of a smile, but at this moment when his cold words rang out, everyone could feel it. He was laughing. What a wonderful show. I know your original intention should be good. The latter sentence was said to Tony. It was Tony's idea that created Ultron, and Banner's technical support gave birth to it. Speaking of which, Tony should be considered his father. Now, this newborn child, like the villain children of the gods in mythology, came to this world with a will to destroy the world. You want to protect this world, but you don't want to change it. If humans just stick to their old ways, how can they protect themselves? Relying on these puppets? Ultron picked up a broken steel armor, crushed his head with one hand, and then said viciously, there is only one way to peace, and that is the destruction of you Avengers. Report. In this serious atmosphere, an untimely voice suddenly sounded. Report to the teacher. I have a different opinion. Lizian threw a hammer in his hand. My understanding of the so-called peace is a little different from yours, but I don't like you and I don't intend to discuss it with you, so please die. Whoosh! The hammer whistled out, and with a clang, it smashed Ultron's body into pieces on the ground, and the broken mask uttered the last whisper. I used to be a puppet, now I have gained my own freedom, right? Ironhead Kung Fu, right? Lizian flashed next to the scattered parts, reached out to catch Thor's hammer, and hammered all the parts into debris with one hammer after another. I know you haven't gone far, you can hear me. What I want to tell you is, don't be too arrogant. Even if you run away this time, you will always show up next time you want to make trouble, but you'd better not let me see you. Otherwise I will beat you every time I see you. After all the parts were knocked into pieces with a diameter of no more than 1 centimeter, Lizian stood up and threw Thor's hammer to Thor, then clapped his hands and faced the stunned crowd. Okay, everyone, can you tell me what's going on? Captain, don't interrupt. Thor put down the hammer and don't chase. There's no point in catching up. Tony, you speak first. Tony opened his mouth, but in the end he looked at Lizian with an inexplicable look and couldn't say anything. Lizian was a little confused by being looked at. I didn't steal your little pepper sister. What do you mean by this look? How come you have been arrogant in Asgard for half a year, and you have become more arrogant again, or have you been infected with some other mental virus? It's no wonder that Lizian complained in his heart. It was really that the look Tony gave him was too complicated. There was joy in reunion, but more of it was sadness, heartache, and even disgust. Although the sadness and heartache were incomprehensible, they were barely acceptable. But what the hell was disgust? Did I eat your rice? Lizian put away her cynical expression. I need an explanation. Tony didn't say anything, just looked at Zodiac like this. This performance was not like Iron Man at all, and he didn't have the courage to admit that he was Iron Man in front of reporters all over the world. Even Fish Leon couldn't help, seeing that the scene was a bit awkward. Hill stepped out to smooth things over. I think we might as well count the losses first and see what damage Ultron has caused just now. After all, Hill is the commander of SHIELD and the current direct leader of the Avengers. He still has some face. After she finished speaking, Banner directly took Tony away, and then with the help of Black Widow, began to count the extent of the damage caused by Ultron. While counting, Zodiac greeted everyone, including Dr. Zhao, whom she had never met before, and introduced Jane Foster to everyone so that they could get to know each other. "Why did Jane come with you?" Thor's expression was a little unnatural. He had just had a little quarrel with Jane a few days ago, and the two were in a cold war. Jane said with a somewhat unfriendly face, "If you hadn't met Lizzie and knew you were here, would you have ignored me forever?" "I'm not, I'm because..." Thor was a little speechless, and some things were not convenient to say in front of everyone. The reason for their conflict was actually very simple and bloody. After the last Dark Elf incident, Odin and Frigga had discussed privately that if Thor really wanted to be with Jane, he could give Jane divine power and immortality, that is, transform her into an Asgardian. In theory, this idea should be supported by both Thor and Jane, but the bad thing is that as a feudal patriarch, Odin would not simply give Jane divine power. The love between the two is only a premise and not everything. In order to get his blessing, Jane still needs to undergo a test that Thor thinks is completely unreasonable. Then, Thor refused. He was afraid that Jane would die in the test. He was afraid of losing her. But Jane agreed without hesitation. She believed that she could complete it because she was also afraid of losing him. As a result, one wanted the other to give up, but the other was unwilling to give up. Conflicts and awkwardness arose. "Don't you love me anymore? Why are you so unreasonable?" The lines of death came out of the two people's mouths, and then the two broke up and started a cold war. "So you handled such a big problem so childishly?" Later, Lizzie, who knew the truth, was almost speechless. A god who had lived for more than 1,000 years couldn't handle such a small problem. "What's so difficult about this?" "I have a way, but I won't tell you. You deserve not to be together." Of course, this is a later story. The current occasion is not suitable for discussion. Lizzie was too lazy to participate in other people's love stories, so she simply pulled Tony out. On the open balcony, the two looked at the night view of New York side by side. The last war did not cause too much trauma to the city. The city still looks the same as before, and it is busy even in the night. "Tell me, what happened?" Lizzie couldn't help asking. Tony's expression must have a reason. Maybe it was related to their actions a few days ago. Wanda should have appeared. So did Tony see a future different from the movie in Wanda's Magic? In that future, am I? Thank you book friend 20190602031402375 for the reward. Chapter 267 Tony Fable. According to the original plot, at the end of the battle to retake the Mind Scepter, while collecting the spoils, Tony was attacked by Scarlet Wanda, who stimulated his spirit with magic, causing hallucinations. In the hallucination, Tony saw the scene that he had always been reluctant to face, but he would unconsciously dream of it every night. It was a ruined battlefield. Hulk and Hawkeye died silently, Black Widow held her chest and abdomen and died with her eyes open, and even the arrogant Thor closed his talking eyes forever. The shield was broken, and the image of the miserable Captain America suddenly grabbed Tony's hand and shouted at the moment of death, "You could have saved us. Why didn't you... Do your best." Above the battlefield, countless Chitauri airships were flying towards a huge wormhole. Across the wormhole was the blue planet that gave birth to mankind. Why not do your best? In fact, Tony asked himself this question countless times. Why couldn't he do his best for the Avengers and this Earth? As a former famous arms dealer, genius scientist and now Iron Man, Tony Stark is a loyal supporter of the god of technology, and firmly believes that technology will change the world and bring peace to the world. He also tried his best, but human power is limited. Even if he is one of the smartest people in the world, he can't do the work of a team or even an organization or a government alone. Therefore, When he found that Ultron was expected to appear in the world, he did not hesitate to persuade Banner to work with him. However, when Lazai appeared, he could see from Tony's complicated eyes that things did not seem to be like in the movie, and something had changed. "So if you have anything to say, can you please tell me quickly? If you do this again, I will beat you up." Lazai looked at Tony's side face, which was slightly scratched but did not affect the overall handsome uncle temperament. For the nth time in his life, he had a strong desire to blow up this face. Tony did not turn his head, but continued to look at the dark sky at a 45-degree angle, and his voice was as light as a dream. "I saw the future." Lazai did not interrupt, and Tony did not say that he was under the mental control of Wanda Maximoff, the enhanced human developed by Hydra, and had hallucinations. Because in his subconscious, it was either a hallucination or the future, and this was also the nightmare that woke him up countless times at midnight. "Do you remember the time we went through the wormhole with a nuclear bomb? An army from space invaded the Earth, and we were right below it, and almost all of us died there." Lazai also looked up at the sky, where the wormhole appeared at that time. "But we won't be so lucky every time, and the number of alien troops may increase. Maybe one time, or the next time, will be our farewell battle." Tony continued to say that these were similar to the original plot, and he knew there should be a twist later. After Tony finished speaking, he suddenly shook his head in self-mockery. "We have formed the Avengers, and there may be more people joining in the future, including you, Saint Lazai, who are all our targets for recruitment or cooperation, and Banner and I even developed Ultron without their knowledge, all of which is to fight against the threat from outer space." But, sure enough, the turning point came. "But, fortresses are often breached from the inside, just like S.H.I.E.L.D. may be completely infiltrated by Hydra, and there may be unstable factors around us that will completely destroy our fortress, this Earth, and this civilization. For example." Lazai narrowed his eyes. "What do you mean? That unstable factor is me?" "You." Tony didn't drag his feet anymore. Since he had already said it, he would finish it all at once. "You, a silver saint from the sanctuary, loyal to the goddess Athena. You said that your duty is to protect the love and peace on Earth, but I don't think so." Tony's voice gradually became a little excited. "Or let me put it another way, even if you can stick to your duty, what about the other saints? There are 88 constellations in the sky, and you are just one of them. Don't tell me you are the only one, and don't tell me that all the saints will unswervingly protect this Earth for the rest of their lives. What if there is traitor among you? With you here, I'm afraid that none of us except Thor can be a match for you. What if there is another saint who betrays Athena? How will the Earth resist? Or let me speculate in a worse direction. What if Athena also betrays her beliefs? Don't say it's impossible. After all, she is the goddess of war. No matter whether the war is right or wrong, it is always the ordinary people who suffer. Athena's duty is to protect. She won't be the one who takes the initiative to provoke a war. You can rest assured about this." Lazai felt that she had to make a few arguments. Even if it wasn't to clean Athena's ass, she had to at least make her position clear. "There is no doubt that the saints protect the Earth." "Ha." Tony laughed bitterly. "Yes, she won't take the initiative to provoke a war, but she will bring war to the Earth," Tony said, and recalled the scene he saw at the Hydra base before. The first half was similar to the movie. Several members of the first generation of Avengers died tragically on the battlefield in the universe, and a large number of Chitauri and other unknown alien creatures were flying to the Earth. On the other side of the wormhole, the Earth was not ready to fight against the alien army, nor was it quiet and peaceful, and seemed to know nothing about it, but was caught in a war. Countless people wearing gold, silver, bronze, sea blue, black and purple saint clothes fought each other on the Earth. Each of them had power beyond Tony, and every punch and kick shook the Earth and changed the color of the wind and clouds. Long before the alien army arrived, the Earth had been devastated by them and countless lives were lost. And Tony could clearly see that among the combatants, there was Lazai wearing the gigantic saint cloth, and it was obvious that Lazai was not the most dazzling one among all. At the other end of the battlefield, several tall figures whose auras were so high that they were completely beyond the comprehension of Tony, a tech geek, were confronting each other in the air. If he guessed correctly, The tall one must be Athena. Shaking his head, Tony squeezed those horrible scenes out of his mind, pinching his nose to tell himself that they were all hallucinations, and murmured helplessly. Thor said that Asgard is the divine domain that protects the earth, but Loki, who is also from Asgard, brought Thor to the earth. Now, how can you let me believe you, Lazian, the saint from the sanctuary? Chapter 268. Goose Girl. Lazian was speechless. It wasn't that she didn't know what to say, but she really didn't know what to say. Although this sentence was a bit difficult to understand, it truly represented Lazia's entanglement at the moment. I know I should say something to show off my comfort to you, but I really don't know what words can have such an effect, because at this time, Lazia herself began to doubt herself. It is said that there will only be one Saint Seiya in this world, and no one else will come. If this is true, then what about the little lion Regulus who was discovered by Fury before? And there are still 6 senior gold saints who have not appeared. Who knows if they will be stimulated by something one day and come out for a stroll to show their presence. How to explain it then? Say that they just came for a walk and go back after they are done? Besides, since the saints have appeared, will the Sea Saints and Hades Saints really not come? Even if they are at a low level and cannot find out the little situation that the previous generation of gold warriors have collectively created, what about Poseidon and Pluto? There is also Yama, the Hades warrior of Tankui Star. This guy is a senior troublemaker. Once he finds something abnormal, there is absolutely no possibility of ignoring it. In the Saint Seiya world, Athena has been protecting the earth and humans since the mythological era, but the holy war has been fought every 200 years or so, without interruption, and each time it is very tragic. From Athena's point of view, she did protect the earth, but according to Tony, she is also the source of the war that brought the earth. And once the war really spreads from the Saint Seiya world to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, judging from the superheroes that Lazia knows, it may be difficult to protect themselves. Perhaps only the complete Thanos wearing gloves can still have the capital to fight. In fact, it is still a problem. The force of this movie universe is still too limited. If it is a comic world, Tony has the celestial armor and the god killer armor in his hands, and he will not be so worried about gains and losses because of a small illusion. Tony on the opposite side still looked at Lazia with dissatisfaction. He actually knew that he might not get the answer, and even if he got the answer, people would change. But he was unwilling. He didn't want all he did to end up in vain. Tony Stark never thought that he would become the savior of this world. Whether it was a superhero or an Avenger, it was just his interest at first. He was extremely rich in spirit and material, and he needed some different stimulation to make him experience more fun. But even he himself did not realize that if one day the world really fell into a desperate crisis, and only sacrificing him could save the world, he would choose to snap his fingers without hesitation. Under his cynical appearance, he hid a heart of boundless love. Tony Stark is the most handsome superhero who deserves everyone's respect and love, the eternal Iron Man. Lazia finally did not make any excuses, but whispered with a gloomy expression, "No matter what I say now, it's useless, because there are too many things I can't explain, and even many things I don't understand myself, but I can make you a promise." Lazia raised her head, looked into Tony's eyes and said seriously, "I will help you build a set of iron battle suits, a set of exclusive ones for you, powerful enough to fight against my Saint Seiya armor. If one day, someone with the same ability as me attacks the earth, you will not be powerless in the face of his attack, and I will definitely stand by your side and fight side by side with you." Silence, staring at each other, and finally Tony nodded without speaking. The promise between men does not necessarily need to be earth-shattering and known to the whole world. As long as the eyes are confirmed, he will understand. After saying this, the two returned to the house. The problems between them were temporarily put aside, but Tony still owed the Avengers an explanation. In the room, the inventory was completed. Black Widow looked at the two people who came in and said sternly, "Ultron has wiped out all our achievements and hacked into the internet. He has mastered all the information, various files and surveillance videos. He may now know each other better than we do. Black Widow's words are not alarmist. There are many secrets between the Avengers. Although the other party does not know these secrets, there are always some channels to collect them. Now, Ultron, who has mastered the internet, is equivalent to mastering all their public and undisclosed secrets. After Black Widow finished speaking, a suit came over and said to Tony, "He hacked into your computer and some secret networks. What if you find something more interesting?" It was scary for a suit to walk and talk by itself in the middle of the night. Zodiac took a closer look and then breathed a sigh of relief. It turned out to be Colonel Rhodes, but he had perfectly blended into the night. The long-legged Hill, who was picking his feet at the side, said, "Nuclear weapons codes." "Yes," Colonel Rhodes nodded. "We need to contact the relevant departments in time. If we can still contact them, this is not alarmist." Ultron clearly said that he would kill all the Avengers. The discussion continued, including the virtual image of Jarvis, who had been severely injured by Ultron, was also displayed. Everyone felt the seriousness of the matter. Even Jarvis, who had easily invaded the S.H.I.E.L.D. network, could not stop Ultron's invasion and destruction, so what else could stop him? Those government department network firewalls with the confidentiality level not as good as S.H.I.E.L.D.'s, are they useless in front of him? Zodiac did not participate in their discussion, but walked behind Hill, looked down at him, and complained about Zenpine in her heart, but asked, "What are you doing? Do you need help?" When watching movies before, Zodiac was curious about Hill's actions. Everyone was discussing world security issues with a nervous look. "Is it appropriate for you, a S.H.I.E.L.D. commander, to pick your feet here in a short skirt?" "Nothing," Hill smiled and turned back. "Just a few pieces of broken glass stuck in my foot. No big deal." She is indeed a female man. Her feet are full of glass shards, but she didn't ask the doctor next to her, Dr. Zhao, to come over for help, but she was there pulling them out with tweezers. "What expression should I use to express my respect for you?" Zodiac sighed. "Let me do it." The microcosmic perception is meticulous. Just a few pieces of glass shards, and they were pulled out by telekinesis in an instant. Throwing away the glass shards, Zodiac's hands covered the wounds, and soon the wounds healed and disappeared, without even a scar left. Dr. Zhao, who was just watching the show, was stunned. The wounds were healed instantly without leaving any scars. Someone actually completed her biological regeneration technology with his hands, and completed it faster and more efficiently than her. This is really Goose Girl. Chapter 269. I am a shareholder. Unlike Zodiac's idle job of helping women with pedicures, the other Avengers have already started a heated discussion on the issue of Ultron. Tony's starting point is definitely good, and everyone is basically positive about this. However, the appearance of Ultron has caused many people to feel resentful, including the captain, who has the greatest tolerance for everyone. He directly pointed out Tony's mistakes. "You shouldn't always think about solving all the troubles by yourself. There is no problem that the Avengers can't solve. The most important thing is that we have to be together. When we are together, we are the strongest." The captain's confession made Tony not know how to respond for a while. Zodiac rolled her eyes over there and said, "Wait until Bucky comes before you say this to Tony, okay?" Although Thor didn't directly grab Tony's neck and pick him up like a chicken to question him because of the arrival of Zodiac and Jane, as in the movie, but there is still resentment in his heart. "We agreed to pretend together, but you acted like you, Iron Man, are the only one who cares about the world. What's the result? You didn't pretend well enough, right? You said I should beat you to death, or beat you to death." At the end of the discussion, no one came to any conclusion. At present, everyone is not clear about Ultron's intentions. More data and information are needed as a basis for judgment, and this takes time. The meeting ended unhappily. Although it was said to be disbanded, no one left Stark Tower. Now it has temporarily become the office and station of the Avengers. Before the new Avengers base is officially put into use, this will become a normal situation. Even Zodiac has a place to live and work in the building, but not as an Avenger. He and the Avengers are just in a cooperative relationship. The reason for the base is that Zodiac is the major shareholder of Stark Industries. "So, when are you going to give me dividends?" Zodiac tilted his head and asked Pepper, who was dressed in a professional suit, in the elevator. Also, Has the board of directors approved the use of this place as the Avengers office? Sister Pepper, don't forget that superheroes' residences have never been safe places. The Los Angeles headquarters, Tony's villa, Captain America's apartment, and the S.H.I.E.L.D. base not long ago. We have reason to suspect. Is LeBang back? Pepper suddenly interrupted Lazia's chattering and asked an almost irrelevant question. Yes, Lazia nodded. You may be the only person on Earth who still remembers her. Haha. Pepper smiled politely. But her smile was not real. Obviously I'm not the only one who remembers her, but also her school teacher. Pepper put on a serious expression. I really want to know how you acted as her brother. She should be in school now, and you took her out to have fun for half a year. Do you want her to drop out of school? If you continue like this, I'm afraid it will be difficult for her to apply for university in the future. Lazia was a little stunned. Sister Pepper, aren't you almost in charge of the entire Stark Industries by yourself? It is said that even Jarvis is not as busy as you. Where do you find the time to care about LeBang's education? I am her guardian and have the obligation to be responsible for her, Pepper said angrily. No matter how busy you are every day, you should take time to care about her growth and learning. Being busy is never an excuse for you to neglect your children. Okay, sister, I was wrong. I will treat this as a big deal. What else can I do if I don't admit my mistake? Also, cooperating with the Avengers will greatly enhance the image of our entire company. We can't let people think that we are arms dealers who make weapons all the time, but we have to take responsibility for the whole world. Pepper rolled her eyes at Lazia. These have been discussed by the board of directors, don't you know? Lazia, who was speechless after being rebuked by Pepper, had to go to bed dejectedly. Looking at his desolate back as he left, Pepper couldn't help shaking her head. Compared to this unreliable kid, it's more reliable to rely on Tony, a slightly more reliable guy, to protect the world. No matter how the world views Tony, in Pepper's eyes, Tony is always the most trustworthy superhero. Well, at least since they confirmed their relationship, that's the case. Gwen went home, and she had been on Xander for so long, and there were still many things at the Holy Grail Company that she needed to deal with. Gwen is not only the nominal head of the Holy Grail Company, but also the actual largest shareholder. After the company began to make a profit, Lazia transferred most of his shares to her. According to Lazia, it was to bribe Gwen so that she could work better for the company. But Gwen also knew that if she really wanted to bribe him, 10% of the shares of such a large company would be enough for countless people to fight over. So why let her become a major shareholder? Moreover, after Lazia came back from Xander this time, he began to transfer shares on a large scale, and the operation was so slick that Gwen was a little confused. Not only her, but also Grandma Joan, LeBang and Parker, who passively accepted the shares, were confused. The most confused was Parker, who became a shareholder of a large company with a market value of billions and was constantly appreciating, with a net worth of over 100 million. The transformation from a poor loser to a tall, handsome and rich man happened overnight. If he hadn't been in London and couldn't leave, he would have flown back directly. Others thought that Lazia was squandering money for no reason, but Gwen keenly discovered some problems. The longer she stayed with Lazia, the more she could feel that he seemed to be carrying some burden. Gwen didn't understand what the burden was, but she knew she couldn't help for the time being, so she wisely didn't make trouble and didn't raise any objections to the issue of shares. Lazia didn't know what he was worried about. When the ether particles entered the holy clothes, he had a bad premonition, and he couldn't figure out what it meant. However, after communicating with Tony at night, he seemed to have a little idea in his mind. My future is not here. Yes, although he traveled to the Marvel world, all signs indicate that his destination is likely to be the Saint Seiya world. Otherwise, it would be meaningless for the previous generation of Gold Saints to work so hard to set up such a game. Lying on the bed and looking at the dark ceiling, Lazia couldn't fall asleep for a long time. He thought a lot, thinking about the death scroll that covered the entire sky in LC, and the final battle of the Pure Land in SS. If I were to go to those two battles now, would I be able to survive? Without anyone's reply, Lazia knew very well that the answer to this question was 100% no. But he also firmly believed that the answer to this question would not always be the same. I will definitely become the savior. Definitely. Chapter 270 Ideal Life. It was not until the second half of the night that Lizzie fell into a deep sleep. While he was sleeping, the entire Avengers was still running at high speed, with intelligence being sent in continuously. When Lizzie woke up the next day and went to the hall, although no one had cleaned up the broken glass on the floor, someone was already working in the office. Did you not sleep all night? Seeing the woman with short red hair sitting in front of the computer desk, Lizzie stepped forward to greet her. I slept a little and woke up early, Black Widow responded with an elegant smile. I haven't seen her for more than half a year, and there is no unfamiliar feeling on her face. I don't know if this is the skill of an agent or her nature. Lizzie walked behind Black Widow in front of the computer desk, trying to keep his eyes on the computer screen that he couldn't understand, rather than on another ups and downs that could not be ignored. Did you gain anything? Black Widow stretched back, and her head, which smelled of shampoo, gently rested on Lizzie's waist and abdomen. Her body was straightforward, and her explosive figure was in full view. Hoo-ha, nothing to gain. Ultron's program is higher than the most powerful computer hacker in the world. I think it will be difficult to track him. You should wear a white shirt. Why wear a striped sweater for no reason? This kind of dress does not suit you. And, looking at the obvious bulge on the striped sweater under the black leather jacket, Lizzie found helplessly that he suddenly wanted to go to the bathroom. Also, how do you get along with Banner? Originally, I wanted to say that you should at least be a little bit polite. But when I thought of the guy who could turn green at any time in the attachment, I changed the subject a little stiffly. Banner, I get along well with everyone. Why do you have to mention Banner alone? Black Widow turned her head to look at Lizzie. She didn't know why he asked this, but no matter how she looked at him, it seemed that he had something else to say. Lizzie scratched her head. It's just, hey, guys, the sun is setting, let's go together. Something like that. I heard Tony say that, haha. In the movie that Lizzie mentioned, when the Avengers went out together, Black Widow, as a soothsayer, calmed down the transformed Hulk and used a spell to turn back into Banner. The latter sentence was added by Lizzie herself. The sun is setting. What can a sexy woman do with a big guy? Of course you can, Tony. Haha, this joke is not funny at all. Black Widow turned back to continue looking at the computer screen. I'm just responsible for playing Betty's recording. What does it have to do with me? I'm not like some people who can throw everything away and go to the universe for a honeymoon, which lasts for half a year. It makes people unable to sleep when they think about it. Recording? Betty? Lizzie didn't expect that the Avengers would actually do such a trick, using the voice of Banner's girlfriend Betty to help him turn back into himself. But, haven't they broken up? Lizzie asked uncertainly. Reunited. Black Widow's voice seemed to have a hint of resentment, and it was unknown who she was talking to. This is really... Lizzie didn't know what to say. Thor and Jane could be brought back by him by accident, so it was not impossible for Banner and Betty to rekindle their relationship. But soon he thought of a fatal problem. Then how about the two of them? In the movie, the real reason for Betty's breakup with Banner should not be that they no longer love each other, but that Banner could not help but transform into the Hulk who did not recognize his relatives when his heartbeat was too fast, which fundamentally destroyed the world of the two. Sex is not the only purpose of love, but it is a necessary regulator of love. Unless it is sexually indifferent, it will eventually kill love if it cannot enter the body. Butyrotoxin B. Black Widow said something that was relatively obscure, but Lizzie had heard of it before. It was a magical toxin that could reduce a person's heartbeat to 1 beat per minute. It was used by Nick Fury to create a fake death in Captain America 2 inches. With the help of Dr. Connors, Betty successfully developed a light-weighted formulation of tetrodotoxin B, which can effectively relieve Banner's signs of tachycardia. Is there any credit for Dr. Connors here? Dr. Lizard has done a great job. Sure enough, many things are poisons if not used properly, and antidotes if used well. The key is whether you have imagination in this regard. Lizzie gave Betty a big thumbs up in his heart. It's a pity that when he came over yesterday, Betty left because of something, Otherwise he should have known about it a long time ago. However, if Banner had Betty, what would Black Widow, an incomplete woman, do? When watching the movie, I thought she wanted to seduce Iron Man at first, but in Avengers 1, she was unclear with Hawkeye, and in Captain America 2, she kissed Captain America directly, and in Avengers 2, she got together with Banner again. According to the latest intelligence, Black Widow seemed to have had something with Winter Soldier during her student days, that is, when she was trained in the Red House in Soviet Russia. This is probably just the tip of the iceberg. As an old witch who has lived for more than 80 years and worked as an agent for more than 60 years, it is hard to imagine how many men Black Widow has experienced. Lazia really doesn't remember that in Captain America 2, the scientist Animo Sola under the Red Skull who was stored in the computer said that Black Widow was born in 1984, which is the youngest, most flexible and softest age for a woman. After all, many details are too old, so it is normal for Lazia to not remember them. Well, congratulations, Banner. Lazia shrugged, glanced at Black Widow's interested BlackBerry, and signed helplessly, "You should find a boyfriend." Black Widow glanced back at him. "With the nature of my work, I don't actually need a boyfriend, do you understand?" Lazia rolled his eyes. "You can't tell me that a boyfriend needs to be responsible. If it's not a boyfriend, then don't think too much about it." Hee, you are actually quite smart sometimes. Black Widow turned back, "But most of the time, you like to play dumb." "Damn, you said that, if I say no again, wouldn't it be a bit too cowardly?" Lazia suddenly felt eager to try. Not taking the initiative, not refusing, and not taking responsibility. Isn't this the most ideal choice for men? This shouldn't be considered cheating. I just made a mistake that all men in the underground will make. It seems that next time I go out to film, no, when I go out to do things, I should be with Black Widow, so I don't have to wash clothes and cook, just get what I need. What are you talking about? Just when Lazia was about to talk to Black Widow about the details, a rude voice interrupted him. Tony came over with a tablet in his hand, rubbing his brows. It seemed that he didn't sleep well last night. "Talking about your lie," Black Widow replied casually, but was interrupted by Lazia. "Did you find anything?" The previous sun-setting incident was seen by Lazia in the movie, not by Tony. Black Widow couldn't ask, otherwise it would be easy to be exposed. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 271 Leisurely and Contented. Discovery? Of course there are, and a lot of them. Tony shrugged, pouring a basin of cold water on Black Widow's surprised expression, "But basically they are useless, except for this." Tony took a piece of paper and looked at it. "The barbecue restaurant has new dishes, you can try them some other day." It was only because Lazia was still there, otherwise Black Widow would definitely kill Tony with a scissor kick. One after another, other people also entered the office, and everyone got busy. But unfortunately there was still no result in the end, until Captain America and Hill brought unexpected but reasonable news. Baron Strucker, the Hydra leader who was captured by the Soviet lair and brought back by the Avengers to be dealt with by NATO, died in prison. Right next to his body, a word was written in blood on the wall: "Peace." Obviously, this was done by Ultron, and it was considered a demonstration. But the Avengers thought of more. Ultron's consciousness partly comes from the Mind Scepter, and during the time when Baron Stokla was studying the Mind Scepter, he also did a lot of things, by the way, which were not dug out by the Avengers. Not only that, Ultron also attacked Hydra's bases all over the world, looting many laboratories such as the Robotics Laboratory, the Weapons and Equipment Room, and the Jet Propulsion Laboratory. Although there were no casualties, the losses were enormous. What on earth does he want to do? When everyone wanted to follow Stokla's clues, they found that all the information about him on the internet, including the Avengers system, had been deleted. However, Ultron could delete the information on the internet, but he could not delete the paper documents. Everyone found the information of companies and people related to Stockla and began to search aimlessly. This process was long, and Lazai was somewhat helpless to search with everyone. She knew where the clues were, but she had to pretend to be ignorant and useless work. This feeling was really terrible. Ah, someone come fight me. Don't let me do this tedious work, please. 10 minutes later, Lazai looked like she was about to collapse, and threw the documents in her hand like a fairy scattering flowers. One of the documents fell right in front of Tony. Thor, who was throwing the folder as if it were a flying saucer, had already wanted to die. Hearing Lazai's words, he stretched out his hand directly to the distance. Your casual attitude is not a good work attitude. I think I need to guide you properly. Whoosh! Thor's hammer flew straight at him, but was caught by Lazai. Come on! Lazai raised her eyebrows at Thor. I'll give you a hammer. If you two don't want to work, just stay aside. Can you stop being so childish? Black Widow couldn't stand it anymore and scolded helplessly. Wait a minute. Tony suddenly picked up the file that Lazai threw in front of him as if he had discovered a new world. I know this person, Tony explained while flipping through the file. I knew him before. A black market arms dealer operating on the coast of Africa. Then, the information of this arms dealer named Ulysses Clay was retrieved by Black Widow, and Tony saw a brand on this person that he had never seen before. After computer comparison, this brand came from an African dialect, which means thief. The country that speaks this dialect is called Wakanda. Wakanda is a poor agricultural country in Africa on the surface, but in fact it can be called the most technologically advanced country on Earth, because this is the hometown of Black Panther. It has a rare metal that is not found anywhere else on Earth, sound-absorbing steel, that is, vibranium. Others may not know the inside story, but Captain and Tony are clear, because Captain's shield is made of vibranium, and the creator is Howard Stark, Captain's old friend and Tony's father. This discovery is very important, and Ulysses Clay should have a lot of vibranium stocks in his hands. Since he has a connection with Strucker, he must be known to Ultron, and Ultron will definitely go to find him. The next target is the African coast, a black market arms dealer. Speaking of Africa, well, Goose Girl, there is a scientific saying that the origin of human beings on Earth is Africa. Millions of years ago, the ancestors of human beings walked out of the African savanna and began to migrate to various places, and eventually developed into modern people of all colors. Of course, this statement has not been finally confirmed, and the actual situation is that people all over the world look at African black uncles with tinted glasses. I won't go into details. The more I say, the more mistakes I make. Africa has a long coastline, and there are many countries, and there are many power differences within the regime, so that there is no way to control all the coastlines well. In some places where official supervision is not available, many underground forces have grown, such as black market arms dealers like Ulysses Clay. He buys various scrapped warships or second-hand weapons from big countries at low prices, and then resells them to African countries. Even the top leaders of many countries are his customers. The top leaders do not represent the government, because there are higher leaders above the top leaders, and many people will start wars for their own selfish reasons because they are dissatisfied with the status quo. On an abandoned warship, the men were dismantling the missiles and guns on the ship. Although the ship could no longer enter the sea, everything on it was a treasure, and Clay was fully confident that he could sell these parts at a higher price than the whole ship. Just when Clay was busy contacting customers, an uninvited guest appeared. Ultron and the enhanced brother and sister appeared earlier, and at the same time, the Quinjet fighter that the Avengers were riding also landed in a hidden place. The Avengers already have a complete cooperation system, and Lazai does not need to intervene. So although he came, he did not act with them, but stayed in the plane to chat with Banner. Lazai is actually not familiar with Banner. Strictly speaking, it seems that they have met twice before. Once was when the Abomination appeared. Hulk fell from the sky and did not communicate with Lazai. He just had a messy fight without a beginning or an end, and also gave Lazai a bandit name of the Dragon Warrior. The second battle was in New York, but from the space carrier to Manhattan, the two had very little communication. They seemed to have almost no time to sit and chat like they were doing now. Barton, take your place. Natasha, take your place. Apostrophe. Well, it's time to take the disobedient child home and give him a good lesson. The voices of the crowd came from the headset, but Lazai and Banner each held a cup of hot coffee and slumped in the chair to bask in the sun. It's a pity it's not tea, otherwise it would be a perfect retirement life experience. Lazai sipped the coffee, shivered comfortably, and felt at ease. Chapter 272. It's my turn. You want to retire at such a young age? Dr. Banner is actually a very kind person. When he talks to people, his tone and voice are very polite, and even make people feel that he is a little humble. Perhaps because Hulk is too rude and irritable, Banner will deliberately make himself a completely opposite person to Hulk. It's just like when you wear headphones and listen to others talking too softly. You think it's your voice that's too soft, and then you will unconsciously increase the volume. Lazai sighed. I remember someone told a story before. There was a lazy fisherman on the seashore. Every day, as long as he caught enough food for the day, he would lie down to bask in the sun. He never worked hard to fish like others. Later, someone asked him. I've heard of this story. Banner smiled and continued, not giving him a chance to waste words. He thinks that working hard to make money, buy a bigger boat, and catch more fish is just to live a leisurely life in the end, and he already has it now, so he doesn't need to fight for it desperately. Lazai looked at Banner with resentment. He had just told the beginning of the story when the other party said the ending. This feeling is like when you are ready to go, pick up your gun, mount your horse, and prepare to gallop, but before you get into the state, you shudder suddenly, and the whole world becomes dull. Banner smiled wryly and said, why don't you continue? I might may know a different ending from yours. Maybe the fisherman himself is a second-generation rich man, fishing is just his hobby, and his job is sunbathing. Banner couldn't go on. Lazai's face opposite him became darker and darker, and he might turn into a local in a while. After drinking the coffee in the cup in one gulp, Lazai put the cup down helplessly, not intending to compete with Banner, one of the smartest people on Earth, in terms of knowledge. Okay, doctor, let's just treat the topic just now as an illusion, and let's discuss a more serious topic now. Lazai sat up straight and looked at Banner seriously. Banner also felt Lazai's seriousness, unconsciously put down the cup in his hand, and nodded seriously. You say? Lazai cleared his throat. Well, it's like this, I've always wanted to know, after you turned green, do you feel good? Seeing Banner's brows frowned, with a posture that I will turn green and feel good for you, Lazai quickly waved his hand. Don't get me wrong, I really want to know what it feels like after you turn green. You should have felt my little universe. Seeing the flames of the little universe slowly emerging from Lazai's body, Banner's urge to turn himself green became stronger. He still remembers this feeling very clearly. When he and Betty secretly ran to New York to meet Mr. Lan, they were finally caught by General Ross and put on a helicopter, while a battle between Lazai and Abomination broke out on the ground. At that time, Lazai erupted with a power very similar to the current one. Under his stimulation, Banner, who had suppressed Hulk with drugs on the plane, felt Hulk's presence again. Obviously, this power called the Little Universe by Lazai can become a factor that stimulates the appearance of Hulk from a certain perspective. No, stop, stop. Banner covered his chest and growled in pain. Lazai put away the explosion of the microcosm, looked at Banner who was constantly panting, and touched his chin and said, sure enough, you can feel it. It seems that gamma cells are really related to the microcosm. Lazai was a little regretful when she spoke, because Banner couldn't keep the Hulk state and discuss the problem with him rationally, so he couldn't verify what the relationship was. Otherwise this might be a direction to make the microcosm scientific. Doctor, let's get Tony together when we go back, and we'll do a small project. I think our research on gamma rays is not deep enough. Maybe it can be applied to Tony's steel armor, or even develop a series of steel armors that can withstand the attack of the microcosm. At that time, it seems that arming a group of steel saints is not a dream. If the scale is large, can I become the Pope? It's a bit sweet to imagine. Lazai can actually stimulate Banner to change his voice into Hulk to facilitate his own research, and with his current ability, He is also confident that he will not let Hulk cause greater damage. But this is the edge of the battlefield after all. The Avengers are still fighting with Ultron and other underground militants inside. It would be bad if he made a noise now. Anyway, there is plenty of time, no rush. Isn't it deep enough? Banner was a little helpless. I have been completely shot. How can I go deeper? Of course, many people have worked hard all their lives and have not found that they have only developed a little on the surface. There is a different world in the deeper part. We can't just taste it. We have to go deep into it. Hey, you two, don't you think it's a bit awkward to talk about these topics at this time? We have encountered the enemy. If you are free, go in and help. I will go after that naughty kid. Yes, that's what I said, naughty kid. Tony's somewhat exasperated voice came from the headset, followed by a burst of explosions in the distance. Two flaming figures rushed out of the broken ship with long tails, and fought all the way. Is the trajectory good? I think you can join the flight demonstration team, Mr. Who. Lazia slumped in the chair, without any worry on her face, and just said to the microphone lightly, Nat, what's going on inside? However, no sound came from the other side. Not only the Black Widow, but also the voices of Captain and Thor. After a long time, Barton's voice rang. They seem to be in a bad situation. Remember Loki? Barton's words made Lazia realize that the plot was developing faster than expected. Captain, Thor, and Black Widow had already been hit, and only Barton, who had been controlled by Loki, was still online. So that means, it's this guy's turn? Lazia turned his head and looked at Banner, who knew nothing about the future. According to the plot, Ultron has successfully obtained the vibranium. The last step of today's plan is to let Hulk run away, causing trouble for the Avengers and causing civil strife, while also exposing their destructive power to the public. This is a big blow to the internal unity and external image of the Avengers. After moving his hands and feet, Lazia knew that it was his turn to play next. I followed the Avengers on the plane for such a long time to get here. Do you really think that Uncle Na is here for sightseeing and chatting with Banner? I have always wanted to meet those two kids who have not appeared for a long time but are still very popular. Chapter 273. This road is impassable. Seeing Lazia stand up and start to move his wrist, Banner's expression also became nervous. Do you need me to go in and help? Although he said so, Banner was actually a little resistant in his heart. After all, strictly speaking, Hulk should be regarded as Banner's second personality. Hulk is not only not controlled by Banner, but also basically relies on instinct and fighting. In most cases, the damage he causes is greater than the construction. He is a double-edged sword. It is best not to use it when the control department is not good. Lazia shook his head. Doctor, you should have confidence in me. Have you heard of a word called a strongest on the surface? Puff. A figure flew out like a kite with a broken string. According to the author's previous character, Lazia is usually the character who pretends to be cool for only 3 seconds and will be slapped in the face before he finishes bragging. But unfortunately, the person who flew out this time was not Lazia, but an old man with white hair. A handsome boy. Hey, are you okay? It's our first meeting. Please take care of me. Ha. Lazia smiled and greeted the handsome boy who was knocked out by his own power after hitting the crystal wall. If I'm not mistaken, you must be Pietro. According to intelligence, you can speed up your body's metabolism and enhance the thermal stability in your body, thereby bursting out at a speed that ordinary people can hardly expect. In simple terms, you're fast, right? Well, actually I'm very curious, with your speed. Can you rub yourself bald? Okay. Don't make that expression, just pretend I didn't ask. Pietro rubbed his sore shoulder and said doubtfully, Who are you? Me? Lazia pointed at his nose. You don't even know me. Am I so insignificant in front of Ultron? Last time I knocked his whole body into powder, so he left a psychological trauma and deliberately blocked me, but since you asked sincerely, I'll be merciful and tell you. Lazia cleared his throat. That's right. I'm the embodiment of beauty and wisdom, heroism and chivalry. Tang, dragon fighter. A surprised shout from the side interrupted Lazia's words. Fortunately, he was interrupted, otherwise he would have said the wrong word. Turning around, Lizzie looked at the familiar-looking girl with a pretty face and a sexy body, and said with a smile, "Madam, I'm afraid I have to correct you. My name is Saint Ce Lizzie, not some Shenlong saint." The girl was a little too excited, and looked like a fan who might rush up to Lizzie and give birth to a baby at any time when she saw her idol. Whether it was her dress or her appearance, this girl was obviously the other sister of the enhanced human siblings, the Scarlet Witch, Wanda Maximoff. "Madam, please be rational." Lizzie was a little helpless. This person was handsome, but it was troublesome. He had a large group of fans casually. He even conquered Almai by accident. Why did she suddenly feel so accomplished? You still owe me an autograph. I've seen you before. Wanda had temporarily thrown her mission out of the window, and only Lizzie was in her eyes. This was her childhood idol. Since her parents passed away, Shenlong Saint Ce Lizzie was her most admired idol. No one else, even Zheng Shanghai, who rescued them from the dilapidated building, only captured Pietro but failed to conquer Wanda. Could this be because Lizzie is more beautiful? As Wanda described, Lizzie learned that he and the two siblings had actually had a brief encounter, but at that time, he was a superhero fighting against villains, and the two siblings were homeless street children. The two siblings had watched Lizzie's battle against Abomination up close in New York. Wanda was instantly attracted by the government just by looking at Lizzie in the crowd, and made an unreasonable request to Max the Electric Man on the spot to exchange his signature for Lizzie's signature. Max had a problem with Lizzie from the beginning because Lizzie and Parker were too close, so how could he agree to Wanda's unreasonable request? He simply chose to ignore it. "I see," Lizzie nodded after hearing what Wanda said. "I didn't know that we actually met. By the way, since you're in New York, there is no organization to adopt you. How did you become Hydra? A test subject, right?" Pietro stepped forward at this time, holding Wanda's arm to let her calm down a little, and took over Lizzie's topic. "We are not like you. We don't have the strength of a superhero like you. If we want to protect ourselves, do we have any other choice besides accepting this inhuman experiment?" Pietro's expression was a little cold. Obviously he was calmer and more mature than Wanda, and it can also be seen that he was not interested in Lizzie. "So, you volunteered to participate in the experiment." Lizzie frowned a little, thinking that she could get closer to her through her little fan Wanda to avoid an unnecessary conflict, but looking at Pietro's arrogant look, it seems difficult to communicate. Look at the little Quicksilver in the next door X-Man, the director's own son, the wind-like man who is invincible in the world in his own BGM. "We are both Quicksilver, why are you so unlovable? The difference between us is too big. It wasn't at the beginning, we were kidnapped." Seeing that Lizzie looked a little unhappy, Wanda explained, "If we hadn't voluntarily accepted the transformation, we might have died a long time ago." Pietro continued, "Not just us, Hydra also captured many children for experiments, but in the end only the two of us survived." "Too pitiful." Banner sighed slowly, not knowing whether he was talking about the pitiful two siblings or the dead children. As a result, what Banner didn't expect was that his involuntary sigh made the atmosphere, which was originally slightly acceptable, suddenly tense. Pietro and Wanda didn't talk about the past with Lizzie, and both turned their eyes to Banner. "Tony told me that you made him hallucinate." Lizzie took a step forward and stood between the two men and Banner. "I'm afraid the guys inside have all been fooled. Let me guess who your next target is, or who your real target is." Lizzie looked at the two of them with a helpless smile on his face. "Although we have met before, and I'm very happy to meet you again, especially to see the beautiful Wanda, but unfortunately," standing in place, Lizzie said as domineeringly as Long Odin, "if your target is Banner, I'm afraid I'll disappoint you today." Chapter 274 No End. "You want to stop us?" Wanda suspected that she had heard it wrong. Shouldn't idols be on the same side with fans? Why did the Dragon Warrior not help her but wanted to stop her after hearing her request? Lizzie nodded. "I know this may be a bit unfriendly to you, but after all, Dr. Banner is also my friend. I can't watch you do bad things to him." Pietro almost said, "If you don't want to watch, just close your eyes." Pietro, who thinks he is a brother and has to take on the responsibility of a brother, is much more mature than the little girl Wanda who occasionally gets crazy. In his heart, he always worships Zheng Shanghai who rescued them from the ruins. He doesn't have much affection for the Saint Seiya who is said to have saved the world but stands on the side of Iron Man, let alone worship him. I said it before, they are in the same group. Pietro pulled Wanda, whose faith collapsed, and reminded her that the man in front of her is not only her idol, but also a friend of Tony Stark who killed our parents. Although we don't have to take him with us when we seek revenge on Tony, he will definitely jump out to stop us, those who stop us from taking revenge or our enemies. This is a very reasonable logic, simple and crude. Wanda's eyes slowly turned red, and her feelings towards Zodiac gradually changed from admiration to indifference, disgust, and finally hostility. Many times, when a brainless fan becomes a black fan, the hatred he has for his idol will be greater than that of an ordinary black fan. The deeper the love, the deeper the hatred. How much I liked you before, how much I hate you now. This is probably why it is impossible to be friends again after breaking up. Why do you have to stand with that murderer? He has caused so many families to be broken up, and you are actually helping the tiger. Wanda gritted her teeth and spoke while her two hands bent into the shape of chicken claws. Red energy appeared between her two hands, and then Wanda suddenly started playing with her fingers like a psychopath. Zodiac bit her lip to prevent herself from laughing, not wanting to provoke them anymore. These two children have already gotten into a dead end. It is naturally impossible to convince them now. The only way is to fight them first. Do you want me to transform? Banner next to him interrupted uneasily. The conflict between the two parties seemed to come from him. He felt that he should take some responsibility. Zodiac waved his hand. It's just two kids. I can handle it. Kids. Pietro tilted his head and disagreed with Zodiac's statement. Do you think you are so great? You are just a guy who likes to attract attention. Which one is great or not is not up to me, but I think it should be enough to deal with you too. Zodiac smiled and propped up his hands. Immediately, a golden light wall appeared in front of him and Banner. Do you know what blocked you just now? Let me introduce it to you. This is called the crystal wall. With your strength, it is almost impossible to break it. Whoosh! Pietro disappeared. Zodiac pouted and muttered, I haven't finished talking yet. Why are you so anxious? My crystal wall looks inconspicuous, but it can actually cover a large area. You may not know that I was able to stretch it for several kilometers when I was in New York. Now my ability has grown again, and I have the help of the reality gem. To be honest, I don't know where the limit is. More than 10 kilometers away, a blue light was running outward along the coastline at a high speed, bumping into the side from time to time. But every time it hit, a golden light would block it and bounce it back. The blue light ran and bumped all the way, and in a blink of an eye it ran hundreds of kilometers, but it still didn't reach the end of the crystal wall. After running for a long time, Pietro stopped panting, feeling like a cow was panting in his throat, and his whole body was shaking a little because of the high consumption. In terms of speed alone, Pietro has actually surpassed Zodiac. His current maximum speed is probably dozens of times higher than the speed of sound, and this is not the limit of his ability. If he is given enough time to continue to grow, he might be able to reach the speed of light. As the speed champion in Marvel, there is no reason why Quicksilver's speed would be inferior to the Flash next door. Of course, the premise is that he is given enough time to grow and not to die as soon as he appears. In the Quinjet fighter, Zodiac glanced at the back of his bare hand. It's almost a minute. I don't know how long this kid can last at high speed. Don't let yourself run to death. Wanda on the opposite side was not in the mood to listen to his nagging. She used her mental power to control a huge pile of stones and threw them at Zodiac. You should worry about yourself first. The several tons of stones were thrown and rubbed against the air to produce a huge sound of wind, not to mention hitting the body. It was scary enough just to look at it. If Banner hadn't had confidence in Zodiac, he would probably have cheated on himself on the spot. Whoosh! Bang! The boulder slammed into the crystal wall with unparalleled momentum. The crystal wall was centered on the landing point and golden ripples appeared, and the light waves quickly spread to the surroundings. However, after the light wave, the crystal wall showed no signs of breaking. Instead, The stone that hit it was like hitting a spring. After compressing the spring, it was pushed out by its huge reaction force and flew towards Wanda at a speed that was almost the same as before. Wanda was a little frightened when she saw this. Although she had the absurd idea that the boulder might not be able to break the crystal wall, she didn't expect that the boulder would hit back the same way it came. Just as she was trying to push the boulder aside in a hurry, a golden light suddenly flashed, and her brain buzzed inexplicably. Although she regained clarity in an instant, when she opened her eyes, the boulder was already in front of her, and it was too late to push it away. No! Pietro, who was rushing back in the distance, shouted frantically, but unfortunately his speed was much faster than the sound, and Wanda couldn't hear it at all. At the last moment, Wanda could only try to turn her head to Pietro, wanting to see her brother again, just one look. Unfortunately, a silver-white figure blocked her sight. Wanda could not see Pietro, but saw a familiar silver-white armor. It is said that this armor is called the Holy Cloth. Such a familiar armor, such a beautiful name. Lazai held Wanda's body that was leaning backwards with one hand, and with the other hand, she gracefully extended her index finger and lightly tapped the flying boulder. Puff! The boulder, weighing several tons in the air, was like a punctured balloon, and it shattered into dust with a puff. After the crystal wall disappeared, it reappeared in front of Lazai and Wanda, blocking the falling dust, while Banner on the opposite side was covered with it. "I should have come by myself," Banner muttered while patting the dust off his body. Chapter 275. That's it. Although Banner wanted to join the battle strongly, Lazai didn't give him a chance in the end. After holding Wanda in one hand and smashing the boulder with the other hand, he waved his hand behind him, and Pietro, who was running, turned into an ice sculpture in an instant. The ice sculpture only appeared for a moment before it broke and released Pietro, but even so, it scared him a lot. Quicksilver's own strength and skills are not high. His skills are all in speed. If someone can restrict him to the spot with a wave of his hand and his speed is useless, then what is the difference between him and a waste? Pietro even thought of a more terrifying point. Lazai didn't need to freeze his whole body. He only needed to freeze his feet while he was running. He could break his legs by himself while running at high speed. It's terrifying to think about it. It's so terrifying. Time flies. After shocking Pietro, Lazai turned to look at Wanda. "Actually, I am also good at mental magic. Why don't we discuss it sometime?" Wanda pushed with her hand, and the red mental energy pushed her body directly out of Lazai's arms, and stepped aside to stand with Pietro. "What should I do?" The two looked at each other, and each saw a word on the other's face, which was that they couldn't do it. After thinking for a moment, Pietro sighed helplessly. It seemed that today's mission could not be completed, so he retreated. Fortunately, Lazai did not mean to kill them all, otherwise they might not even have a chance to escape. Seeing that the two were thinking of retreating, Lazai put his hands behind his back, looking like a master. One of the purposes of following here today was that he didn't want Banner to become a violent Hulk and be played like a monkey. And by the way, he also wanted to see if the real version of Wanda was as amazing as in the movie. Now that both goals have been achieved, it's time to retire. There is no need to continue to entangle. It's not impossible to force the two to stay, but sometimes, naughty kids are not the kind that will listen to you just because you tell them the truth and ask them to learn it. If you want them to become better, they can only rely on themselves to feel it. If they understand it, the naughty kids will become good kids with a promising future. If they don't understand it, even if you force them to change, they won't be willing to walk on the right path. Instead, it may arouse their rebellious psychology, and even make them commit suicide in anger. Before we say goodbye, I'll leave you a few words as a souvenir. Lazai cleared his throat and said loudly, "I had a friend named Zheng Shankai. He once rescued 2 children from a small building that was blown to pieces by a missile. Do you know Brother Shankai?" Pietro, who had a sullen face since he appeared on the stage, finally softened his expression when he heard Zheng Shankai's name. "Of course, and we are good friends." Lazai smiled. "So, the 2 children he saved are you, right?" "When I heard you talk about it just now, I felt a little familiar. I didn't expect. This world is still too small." Shaking his head, Lazai continued, Brother Zhang once went to find trouble with Tony Stark because of this matter, thinking that the weapons he made so many people homeless. But, let's put it another way, missiles can kill people, and so can kitchen knives. If one day a person is hacked to death with a kitchen knife, should the victim seek revenge on the murderer or the person who hit the kitchen knife? Maybe this analogy is a little inappropriate, but the logic is still clear. The real destructive ones are those ambitious people who create wars. Because of them, there is a soil for arms dealers to survive, and we should not pin all the hatred on those who make weapons. Of course, I admit that Stark has sold so many weapons. As an arms dealer, although he did not directly create wars, he is very likely to act as a catalyst in inciting the ignition of many wars. But he has now closed all the weapons manufacturing departments, and has set an example as the defender of the Earth, just based on his unhesitating action of taking a nuclear bomb through the New York wormhole to blow up the alien spaceship. Shouldn't his previous indirect crimes be forgiven a little? Pietro and Wanda looked at each other, and suddenly felt that what Lazia said made sense, and they seemed to be making trouble for no reason. You are all adults, and you need to consider many issues comprehensively. As for whether Ultron is what you imagined, you will naturally find out in the future. I hope that by then, you can be like an adult, bravely take on your own responsibilities, and become a new person who contributes to society, the world, mankind, and civilization. Let's go. Go back early, it's too late. Ultron will be worried, waving his hand to let the two leave. Lazia looked at the sky helplessly. Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch were just so-so. This world without opponents is getting more and more boring. In the distance, Ultron was still fighting with Iron Man, and Lazia had no interest in watching it. No, strictly speaking, he is not invincible. At least, the current Ultron cannot be killed by Lazia. It's not that his body cannot be destroyed. The current Ultron is just a piece of broken copper and iron, compared with the Iron Man in the movie, whose iron suit has improved by countless generations. It is as weak as a child's toy. It has been torn into pieces and will soon become a pile of debris. But this is just a clone of Ultron. His original body should be regarded as an artificial intelligence program stored in the internet. No matter how many times the body he possesses is destroyed, he can be reborn infinitely. And even if he has no body, he can live forever in the internet. To deal with such an enemy, there is no other way except to destroy all the existing internet and storage devices in the world and start all over again. And this is obviously impossible. Not to mention that the current society has developed to the point where there is no way to manage work and life normally without the internet. Let's say that there are ambitious people hidden everywhere in the world. They can cause Ultron to be reborn by digging a hole and burying a USB flash drive. So Lazia couldn't do all kinds of changes and destruction right away like in the previous plots. He could only wait. When Ultron created a perfect body that combined vibranium and organic matter and wanted to upload his own information to complete his rebirth, he snatched it away and transformed it into Vision led by Jarvis. Then, Vision kicked Ultron out of the internet completely, so as to eliminate him at the lowest cost. As for the Maximoff brothers and sisters, as Lazia said, let them turn back from their mistakes. One day, the children will grow up and understand the good intentions of their fathers. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.